apartment 5B.
You're now tuned into the Apartment 5B podcast, where we chop it up about hip-hop, R&B, sports, love and life. Hosted by Kill.
What's good? You are to an Apartment 5B hosted by your man Kill. I got my squad effect with me today. Vern out of ATL. What's going on, good brother?
What's up? Happy to be here. Ready to jump on this topic.
Yo, you got the right background with them drums right there.
Yeah.
You got the right background right there. Vague out of BK. What's going on, good brother?
Good, man. Just you say XO tonight, so I'm gonna be lit. Just let you know.
Hey, it's all good. Can we talk about congratulations yet, or are we ready?
Yeah, it's out there.
I would like to salute how proud I am of my bro right here. He is the Chief Content Officer. What's the call letters again for the station in Newark?
WBGO.
I'm so proud of this dude. I remember
Congratulations.
him on as the intern for the hip hop show. Like I told him on Twitter the other day, there was no human being alive walking the planet Earth that I could have left my baby Strictly Hip Hop 889 to, but him. He took it, ran with it, took it to a whole nother level, just like what you were supposed to do. And to see you now, 20 years later, now you are like in charge of everything over there, bro. I can't extend to you how proud I am, how happy I am for you. So I just salute you for that, man.
Thanks, man. That's dope. Yeah, man. It's dope to think about like where you start, like when you like 19 and you know what I'm saying, you ain't graduate yet, so some of that hood is still there. Like, yo, I could be back, you know what I'm saying? And you don't know what your future's gonna be, you know what I'm saying? And you just kind of work at it constantly, and you don't give up. And you know, honestly, the hard work, the networking, all paid off. And you know, now it's time to do some big things. So I'm happy.
Yes, sir.
No doubt. Now, talk to me like I'm stupid, because back in the day, I only knew the CEO. Now we got CBOs, CTOs, CFOs. What exactly is the Chief Content Officer? What is your job number?
So I'm going to oversee all of the content on WBGO, that being radio, everything you hear on the radio, every show, whatever it may be. Also, everything digitally, everything you see on the website, WBGO.org. I'll be overseeing that. They also have a podcast division, WBGO Studios. I'm going to oversee the content there as well. Everything content related, but my position will be more from a strategic standpoint, right? Like, what are we doing? You know, what are we improving? What new systems we need to bring into place here and there to, you know, kind of engage the audience and grow the audience. Because WBGO is a jazz station, is world renowned, and some people think it's a New York City station, jazz station, because that's the majority of the listeners, even though it's located in Newark, New Jersey. So it's the New York City market. There is no other jazz station in the New York City market. So it's dope to be in charge of that. And you know, I got a different history. I didn't grow up in jazz. And I was introduced to jazz through hip hop, just like a lot of us in some cases. And you know, and working at EAA and learning that way. I've been in jazz radio ever since. So I always say this because this is what I tell my interns, but it's really easy for me to grow up in hip hop and R&B and go straight to urban radio, because that's what I know. You know what I'm saying? That's what I grew up in. That's what comes easy. But public radio is more gratifying to the listeners, to the people who do the work, because you get more out of your listening experience as as opposed to the 7 songs in rotation, 10-minute breaks, commercial breaks. You get a richer experience dealing with public radio and in particular jazz. So it's gonna be dope, man, because we got a different perspective. I'm not an old head. I ain't got no Bluetooth in the one ear, like make sure I'm from the '90s, and and I got a respect for jazz, but I also got a hip hop history, so it should be dope.
That's dope, man. Proud of you, man. Proud of you.
Yes, sir.
Tone from Enter the Dome. What's going on, good brother?
What's good, fellas? Everything is love, man. Man, of course, man. Congrats, man. That's my partner in crime on that time of Hip Hop and Championship Round Boxing podcast, man. So we got a lot of work together, man. So it's good looking, man. Congrats, bro. Many blessings to you, man.
Thanks.
No doubt. My man Gadget from Philadelphia, out here in the DMV, runs Scratch Magazine. What's going on, good brother?
What's up, man? I'm happy to be here. Like, I'm ready to talk about these drums.
Bruh, this is like a topic I can talk about all day, so y'all have to shut me the hell up on this episode. Eddie out of LA, what's going on, good brother?
Yo, what's good, man? I'm happy to be here, and congrats to Vegas. Vegas is that dude, man. Anything good happen in Vegas, man, we all happy. So
Yes, sir.
No doubt. You gotta do that, man. Rel out of Philadelphia, what's going on, good brother?
Good, man. Happy to be here as always. Like everybody else said, congrats, Vig. Good to see everybody winning, man.
Yes, sir. For sure.
Yeah. I'm telling you, to me, it's nothing doper than that. My mentor raised me that if you winning, but your crew ain't, you ain't really winning yourself. It's nothing but a blessing to see so many people winning. Rel, I don't know if we shouted you out. Salute on your promotion. Salute on that new house that you just brought. Again, we gotta take, for folk listening, we gotta take this time. You don't see too many times that men in general sit around and tell each other they proud of each other.
Yep.
It's like at a certain age that proud of shit goes out the window. Like you graduate college and it's like, nigga, that's you ain't gonna get I'm proud of you for the rest of your life. And it's like, that's huge, because being a man out here and trying to do the right thing, like, dog, somebody need to tell you they proud of you every day. So that's why we have this little apartment 5B Love Fest right here. But like Gadget said, let's get right to the topic. We are talking about drums. We have talked about the top 5 dopest bass lines, piano samples, this, that, everything. But we're talking about the meat and potato of everything boom bap to me, which is the drums. Me being a producer, I mean that's just my bread and butter. If you follow me on Twitter, you see I'm like running for president, like bring drums back in hip hop. Like that's my my campaign slogan. Like let's bring them back. We got to get that boom back. So we're gonna be talking about our top 5 dopest songs with the hardest drums that we got. We're gonna be talking about break beats. We're gonna be talking about who's the illest producer with the drums, and I'm gonna be talking a little bit about, and everybody can chime in as they want, about just the evolution of drums in hip hop, how we went from break beats to eventually drum programming and all that stuff. So definitely a dope show. Vern, you got the drums behind you, bro. Why don't you set us off? What's one of the joints that comes to your mind? And for me, I'm intrigued how y'all did this, because again, me being a producer, I could have been here all day, so I literally just was like, first things that come to mind, I just literally was like, what's the first joint? Because if I sat here and went through my crates or went through my iTunes or went through my phone, this couldn't even be completed. So mine are just straight the first top 5 joints I thought of. Vern, how did you do yours, and which one of your joints that you
I wrote about 10, and I wanted to make sure that I took it back, because I'm sure some of the newer stuff is going to be talked about by others. So my first one is funny you said it. I'm going to set it off with Set It Off, that Big Daddy Kane. I mean, man, when they come on and that drum just drops, man, it's crazy, and it makes you do something. I was running yesterday, and I got a running mix, and that mug came on, and that'll how you passing out, because you're trying to keep up with the pace. But anybody that ain't whopping when they hear that, man, you the fed. So that's the first one.
Nah, I feel you, man. Set It Off was crazy, man. I still remember the first time hearing that joint, man, and just Kane in general, man. We gonna tap in on that if we got time tonight. But Caps was on my timeline saying they think G-Rap doesn't. They were saying that they feel like G-Rap, Kane gets more love than G-Rap, and I was like, dog, I feel the exact opposite. I feel like I see G-Rap almost all the time on my timeline. You know what I mean? I hardly see Kane, and I get it. Kane was like Jay said, grand opening, grand closing. Like Kane was 87 to like 90. That kind of was like his thing where G-Rap is. I was just listening to Soul Survivor today, and G-Rap's verse on Pete's Soul Survivor from 98 was still crazy. So, you know, G-Rap is still going. He never fell off like Kane did, but neither here nor there. Vay, which one of your joints, good brother? And how did you put your list together?
I was like you, man. I started thinking, right? You know, you sent me the topic, and I'm like, all these different drums are coming to mind, and I'm like, damn, I'm gonna fuck around and have 25 of these joints written down. So I just tried to think of songs I liked a lot, and what I recall being, you know, the drums being a part of it, you know, a part of what I really liked about it. So my first one is, and look, as a producer, correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm hearing shit that's not actually a drum, because I had that thought too. I was like, damn, is that drums or I just like this shit?
Right.
But I had Mobb Deep's Temperatures Rising, because I remember when I first heard that on the Infamous, and like I didn't have no crazy sound system or no crazy headphones, and I just remember that shit being so crisp in my ears, and I was like, man, and it's different from the other tracks that come before it. When you hear the snare and the drums on it, it's just like, shit, is this louder? Like I couldn't figure it out when I was younger, but even to this day, I still get that same feeling listening to that record and hearing how it starts and it builds. It's just a dope record. I guess, you know, it's because of the drums, but that's something that stood out to me in that song. Yeah,
bro. Like, yo, that's a great call right there, man. And that's the genius of Q-Tip. You know, when we talked about it when we did that time in hip hop and the Apartment 5B show, Salute and Tip. When we talk about how he starts his songs off with the drums, you know, so that's just the presence and the magic of Tip, and that's going to be what I tag on later about the difference between drum programming and using break beats, because that's Tip drum programming right there, you know what I mean? And that's now talk about for a second the Gadget. If anybody else wants to kind of chime in about the difference, like for people watching, like what was happening in I'll save it till my piece. I have a perfect joint to kind of talk about breakbeats and everything like that. But dope pick, Bag. Those drums, Tip's drums on that whole album to me are crazy.
Don't say no more. Don't say no more.
All right, I won't say no more. I won't say nothing else. All right, my bad. So what you got, good brother?
That's how I came up with my few songs. Was I thought about several producers that I like, and I like their drum. You know what I'm saying? So my first joint, like Knots, man. Can't Get Right, the Scarface. So Knots got some of the hardest drums I've ever heard. Maybe top 5 drums in hip hop for me. You know what I'm saying? His drums Knots. You know what I'm saying? So I got 2 for Knots real quick, and the Barry Bonds joint he did for Ye on Graduation. Man, that was hard. Yeah. Insane, bro. So that's kind of what I did with I think you guys. I like with the drums came up with the song.
Yeah, Knots got a knock to it, man. That I'm just taking notes to kind of talk about each one of these people from a producer standpoint and why what they do is just so goddamn amazing. Gadget, what you got for you? You've interviewed millions of producers with Scratch Magazine, so I'm really intrigued to hear what you got. What's one of your top 5 joints?
I have to go with The Architect, Marley Marl for MC Shan the Bridge. To me, the first record with drum programming, where it wasn't a drum break, he just took the kick and the snare and, you know, tried to replay Impeach the President. Like that right there, like when you hear when the bridge comes on, man.
Yeah.
If you in a nice car, man, that shit knocks.
Yeah. The sad part, and we talked about this a couple of episodes ago, was just, you know, people don't give Shan his credit that I believe he deserves, because he, you know, of course, took that L in the Bridge Wars. But yo, Shan has some bangers. Like, people act like The Bridge ain't an incredible song. Like, The Bridge is an incredible song, but it's almost like The Bridge Is Over came out and niggas really just Men in Black MC Shan. Like, it was like we just forgot about The Bridge. I'm like, yo, that second MC Shan album got bangers on it. Like, it was the Juice Crew show we did. That second joint, I pioneered this Juice Crew. Like, there's some bangers on that second MC Shan album. But I always was saying, it's like Shan got canceled before Get Canceled was the shit to do. You know what I mean? Like, it literally was like, after the bridge is over, it was like, nobody want to hear shit MC Shan got to say. And it's crazy because, again, if you haven't heard it, I challenge y'all, get into an 87 mindset and listen to that second Shan album. We're still talking about 87 Marley. So we're still talking about the Marley that's in his bag for Kane and G-Rap and Biz. Like, there are some bangers on that second MC Shan album.
And Shan didn't help himself by refusing to get on the symphony. So
well, you know what that was arrogance.
That would have took him to another level. Like he I think Master Ace took his place, or Craig
either Ace or Craig, but it just was Shan didn't show up. It was like, yo, let's go, and he was like, all right, I'll meet you there, and he never showed up because at that time he was the biggest person in the Juice Crew. You know what I mean? So for him, he was like, I ain't fucking around these little kids over here. Like, I got other shit to do. You know, but that's another hip hop what if, and I'm wary of those because that turned my whole timeline to an alternative universe for 48 hours. That whole what if shit. But would Shan have added to the symphony, or would he have taken away? Would Shan's rhyme style been dope enough to compete with the Kane and the G-Raps, or would he have embarrassed himself?
I don't think so, bro. I think that Shan was still one of the guys in the old school style of rhyming to a degree, and all those guys in the symphony, you know, their style transitioned into the early 90s and so forth, hip hop. So I think Shan, it was best with him left off, even though he was the man at the time in the Juice Crew, but he clearly was the least talented lyrically and style wise compared to everyone else on that record.
But listen, do you remember Master Ace's verse from that song? No.
Yeah, I do.
You do?
If you ask Trey will tell you that's his favorite verse. His verse is Trey Lee's. I call that nigga right now. His favorite verse. My biggest thing is time on the door, no biting allowed. And if you didn't read, I suggest you do so. You'll be stranded just like Russo. Sleep if you wanna. Go ahead, get your shut eye. Rappers broke his jaw trying to say what I said on the microphone. Yeah, I know Ace verse. Yo, there's a lot of quotables in that for me.
Shan swag might have got him over. Let me back up for a second. I don't think he's good enough for the track, but he did have style and some swag, and that might have took him a little bit over the top, depending on where he was placed in the song. But that's just me. I don't know.
Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
Right.
It's one of them it's almost like what you say, for everything happens for a reason. Like that's why Freddie Fox didn't show up to meet Eric B. Because we got Ryan Kennedy. So you know, no disrespect to Freddie. I don't want no heat, Fred. I'm good. You know, so Eddie, what you got for one of your first songs? And how'd you come up with picking out the drums?
All right, so I guess I'll start how I came about picking it out. I mean, I was just thinking, kind of like what damn, I'm drawing a blank. Someone said basically like listening to producers and or thinking about which producers. So I started thinking of that, and I mean honestly, I just kind of went through and started listening to stuff, just kind of refreshing my mind. So my list, I have about 20 tracks, so I'm gonna try to narrow that down to 5. But this joint right here, I had to start off, man. So in an album full of bangers, it's a standout, and it's Incarcerated Scarfaces. Them drums, crisp, loud, banging, man. Like I said, an album full of bangers, and that's a standout, man. Like,
that's true, man. Like the same way I describe Temperatures Rising and those drums, that's just, for me, it's just synonymous with that song. It's the same thing with that record. It's like every time it comes on, you know, I hadn't heard the album in a minute. I listen to it and I'm like, damn, I just forgot how dope this beat is. You know what I'm saying? Big pick.
Yeah, Incarcerated is crazy. That's one of the joints. That's one of the joints that I got for mine about break beats. Yeah, it's this joint right here, Detroit Emeralds. This joint right here are the drums for this, and it's the drums that Dilla also used for Common's Delight. I mean, the drums have been used a lot, but you know, just Common's Delight, same thing. So yeah, just very, you 100% right on that end. Those drums are just crazy to me. Rel, what about you, bro?
So, first let me say this is not my day because I didn't know to get the topic. And the
That's
one
my bad. That's my bad. That's my bad.
Hey, hold on. But Kill, we got to stop because Rail took us so far to school the last episode.
Yeah, he did.
That
Yeah,
you get
he
a
get a
pass.
pass anyway, man.
Yeah,
You get a pass, man. Like,
You good, Rel.
and it's
good.
my fault, so you really don't even need a pass anyway, because it's not like you got the topic and then do the research. So, yeah.
That's a bet. But the first songs that came to my mind was Temperatures Rising and The Light. But I got another good one. And it's a break beat, but it's also been used in popular songs. So it's used in Nas Made You Look, and it's the Apache. The Apache Beat. That shit is crazy.
Incredible
like,
bongo band.
Yeah, Incredible Bongo Man. Yeah. And you know, the thing that's like synonymous with everybody's picks, like the drums just stand out, like, you know what I'm saying? And those drums stand out on every song that it's been used for. So that was my first pick.
Yeah, man. Incredible bongo band, man. So the first joint I got up is again, I just went with whatever came to mind first. I got Come Clean by J. Roo. You know what I mean? The first time I heard that, I mean, I think that track, the whole track, I mean, we talk about perfect hip hop. To me, that's a perfect hip hop song. Everything about that song is just hard. From the sample to the drums to the heads up because we dropped some shit. Like everything of, I mean, J. Roo, rough and rugged, shine like a gold nugget. Just everything about that joint was just crazy. But I just remember hearing that and just after you get past the water drops, because I think the water drops is what pulls you in first. But then when those drums come in, it's like, oh man, god damn, like just crazy at the time. So that's Come Clean. The first joint I got for breakbeats. Well, I'll go with what Ed was talking about with the Detroit Emerald joints right here, and what Rel was talking about for Calms the Light. Is just, you know, for a breakbeat back in the day, you would have the DJs who would just, you know, if you're listening to an old 70s soul song back in the day, the drummer would get a little, you know, you go, if you've been to a jazz show, you've been to a funk show a lot of times, they're like, you know, let the drummer get busy. Now the bass take a solo. Now you take a solo. So anytime that the drummer would get a solo, and that would be the time where there's nothing else but just the drums, that's what the DJ would spin back and forth to give you the feel of giving the MC of something to rhyme over. Another breakbeat that I'm gonna name is Billy Squire's Big Beat, which is made by Run DMC live at,
Okay, go ahead and say it so I don't have to say that one then. All right, go ahead.
Oh, made famous by Run DMC's Here We Go live at the Funhouse. Yeah. So the thing about Here We Go that a lot of people may not realize is, number one, it wasn't on that Run DMC album. It was a 12-inch and it's live. And there's no studio version of that. Why I love talking about that to talk about breakbeats so much is because it's the perfect example of how a song is something how you went from the park to the studio. Because that's essentially all cats was doing in the 80s, is they were doing what they did in the park and now trying to take that to the studio. And there's a part on there when DMC says, and when what does it say? When we're on the mic, we're in charge, or something like that. And I remember because this came out in '84, and you would hear like this loud pitched voice for like a second. And as a kid, I was always like, yo, what was that? But I think Jay probably made a mistake and then get back to the turntable to go to the other one. Because if you listen to the original Big Beat, eventually after the drums, Billy Squire says, and I got the big beat. So that you heard just a little clip of that and then like Jay went back to the and for years, and you know, I'm 10, I'm like, yo, what part of the song is that? You know what I mean? But that's going back and forth, so that's what we did. So since we're taking that to the studio, back in the days, you would just, if you wanted to make a beat, you'd be like, okay, well, what sample you gonna use and what break beat you gonna use? You know what I mean? Which is why so many DJs became producers, because when you think about it, as a DJ, you're constantly trying to blend two records together. You're trying to get the tempo of this record to match this tempo. As a producer, you're essentially doing the same thing. You're trying to find the break beat to match the blend of, you know, this sample, which is why so many DJs became producers, because you kind of just slide right into it. So But Gadget made a great point, and one of the reasons why I hold Marley in such high esteem was, like Gadget just said, the bridge is drum programming. Most people didn't get on the drum programming until maybe 95. You know what I mean? If you listen to the whole Into the Stage album, these are all break beats that they're on. Same thing with Smith & Wesson's album. These are all break beats. You know what I mean? If you listen to Daily Operation, most of these are break beats. Like Primo didn't even get start really chopping up drums until Hard to Earn. You know, so Hard to Earn is what, 93? The Bridge is what, 86? So this is just one of the reasons why like Marley is such a huge innovator of taking us from break beats to actually now using program drums, which is just crazy to me. So that's just a little tidbit about, you know, break beats to that. I'm gonna talk about drum machines a little later on and how every drum machine had a certain oomph to it and everything like that. Vern, what's another joint you got up, good brother?
All right, this is gonna be a medley. I love the way he tunes his drums. Questlove, Doing It Again, Next Movement by The Roots. Those two joints are on my. I got a spaz out drum mix that I play with. Those are on there. Since I'm on Quest, I'm gonna just rattle off two more: Remain Calm and Mellow My Man. Though I love the way his snare snaps, and again the way his toms are tuned. It's so high pitched. It's beautiful, and I never could get my drums tuned like that till I got a professional drummer to come over here and do it, and it makes you want to play the drums. So it's a Roots medley with Doing It Again, Next Movement, Remain Calm, and Mellow My Man.
So Vern, quick question for you, bro.
Yeah.
So so I take it that you love Do You Want More album then, because drums in pretty much every track.
Pretty much, yeah. Because I could have said, you know, that scat and a whole bunch of other stuff. Yeah. I was listening to the album today, so yes.
All right, no doubt. I mean, I don't know too many people could disagree with Quest as, you know, being the number one drummer, you know, out there. You know what I mean? So yeah, no doubt with that. Vay, what you got for your next one, bro?
My next one, I got Clips, Grinding. When I heard that joint, man, I was just like, I didn't even hear the verses. Like, and typically I could take in the whole song in one listen, but I was just like, Pharrell did this? Like, this shit sounds crazy. Like, you know what I'm saying? And
hell yeah.
I mean, the song speaks for itself. The beat is like, especially in the club, like the beat was like the centerpiece of the whole thing. Like the verses were window dressing for, you know what I'm saying? And the hook, obviously, the hook was dope, but man, there's not much I can really say besides that. When you hear that grinding beat and we talking about drums, it just knocks, man, and shit is dope.
Yo, Grinding was my next joint. The crazy thing about Grinding to me, this is like 2001. So this is when I first started working with kids. And I was at an elementary school. And when Grinding would come on, Grinding is the last hip hop song I've seen kids, because I've been working with them for the last 21 years, when kids was beating on the table, on the lunchroom tables. You know what I mean? Like, that reminded me of when I was coming up in 88, you know, and we'd be beating on the lunchroom tables like that. So to see something like that 12, 13 years later was just crazy, because these kids wasn't beating on the table before Grinding. You know what I mean? So that was crazy. Like you said, Pharrell did this shit. Like, it was like, yo, this nigga gotta have a ghost producer, because I ain't never heard no drums like this. But then when I heard the backstory, it was something like, you know, Pusha was like, yo, your shit too soft or whatever. And then he made that and was like, yo, if you don't write some of this shit right here, I'm gonna give it to Jay-Z. So it was like, you know, that little push motivation, like, yo, man, your shit too soft for us. And then he came with that. And then here's the thing, Gadge, and you tell me how you feel about this and how everybody feels about this. Grinding is the only drum program song that I feel like we could put in the hip hop breakbeat, you know, category. Like, I feel like that could literally be one of breakbeats, like right up there with Impeach the Prez and everything else I'm about to talk about. Like, that drum programming is that incredible that I'm like ready to just call that a fucking breakbeat. Like, that's just a Pharrell break. Like, that's it. You know, what do you think, Gadge?
I agree, and the beautiful part about that beat, it's so unorthodox for the stuff that came out the same year. Like, I think Pharrell did an interview and he said he wanted to do something just as hard as the Benjamins. And like when you listen to Grinding, there's no snare on the on the 4. It's like on the like I don't. As a DJ, when I first heard that, I was like, how am I going to mix this?
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a couple songs that you can mix with it, but not a lot.
Yeah, grinding that's a great pick, Veg. That's like you said. To be honest, it's just the drums. Like I don't even know if there's anything else in this except that dun dun dun. Like I don't even know if there's anything else left. And of course, the chorus would, like that. But other than that, it's like
that is the first song. That's the first song since the '80s that was just drums.
Right, that you niggas just rhymed over drums, and then on top of that, it was a hit. Like it was everywhere. Like I said, I'm in elementary school. I'm not in high school. I'm with babies. I'm with kindergarten to 5th grade, and these dudes is beating on the table. You know what I mean? So
right.
Salute to Pharrell for that one, because that and I mean I missed them getting together because I felt like they just brought a whole different side out of Pharrell. Like I just felt like Pharrell just when it was time to do clip stuff, like it was like, oh okay, close that folder, let me pull up this folder, and like he knew like these niggas don't want no change clothes, these niggas don't want that Pharrell, they want. I get to go in my bag for these dudes because Mr. Me Too was crazy. Wamp. I mean, we could talk about the whole second Clips album, you know. So, but dope pick, babe. Definitely dope pick. Tone, what you got up next for yours, bro?
We go back to Marley again, man. With that Mama Said Knock You Out. I mean, you know, that's drums galore, man. I love to hear somebody play that live. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm gonna roll with that.
Bro, I mean, shit. The whole album was crazy, man. That's one of those things I say when you get two hungry people together, because Marley had kind of was quiet for a minute. L was quiet after, Walking with a Panther. That's, to me, you get two hungry niggas together, and that's what you get right there. So definitely a dope pick. Gadget, what you got up for yours, bro?
Okay, now this song, I hated it when I heard it on the radio. And then I went to a club and heard it, and I was like, oh, okay. Black Rob, whoa. Them drums hit so hard, and oh my god!
Right.
I'm not gonna lie. Like I thought it was Black Rob's version of Ha, because the end of the verse is like, whoa, like so. I'm like, this nigga's copying Juvenile. They trying to be like the down south dudes. So I didn't like it at first until I heard it at H2O down in DC, and I was like, oh, I'm messing with this song. Like songs are tied to experiences.
Yeah,
right. So that experience at the club when I heard that's just etched to me forever right now. So whoa is gonna be my second choice.
No doubt. R.I.P. Black Rob. For everybody out there watching, I'm glad we're saying just to give shouts. That's Buck Wild on the beat from DITC. So, I mean, if you fuck with Woe, definitely, digging the Buck Wild. I actually got a Best of Buck Wild mix up on my site. So, guys, salute Buck for them drums. Eddie, what you got up next for yours, good brother?
All right, so Vern was mentioning the Roots. So I had one joint on mine, and to me, this is the hardest drums that the Roots had on a joint. And for me, like this, just my opinion, it got to be Clones. Like them drums on Clones go hard.
Yeah.
Your opinion is wrong, Eddie.
Your opinion is wrong, Eddie. This is Twitter
said.
I mean, pretty much like, even though like my favorite Roots album is Things Fall Apart, but as far as like drums, like and hard beats, like Philadelphia Half-Life takes the cake. Like there ain't nothing harder in their catalog than that.
Yeah, we gonna shout out Kilo for those drums. A lot of the second and third album was the Grand Niggas. My beef with the Roots for the first album, it was too light in the ass for me. I ain't want to hear no jazz shit. You know what I mean? So when Philadelphia came out and I heard Clones, I was like, oh, this is not them. It's literally like they took everything I didn't like about them and changed all that shit. Like they literally went from, I remember the Roots being no samples, and I'm like, that's some whack ass shit. Like you bragging about not sampling, you know what I mean? And you could tell, like even from Do You Want More, who they go to for them remixes? The Beat Miners. You don't get no more boom bap than the Beat Miners. You know, the Beat Miners remix the Silent Treatment, the Proceed. You know what I mean? So it's almost like literally like you could kind of see where they were going in Philadelphia. You know what I mean? It was that, and that's what I wanted. I wanted them SP 1200 drums. I wanted that knock, like, you know what I mean? And I wasn't getting that on Do You Want More. I didn't want a live drum. You know what I mean? No knock on that, but I wanted them drums that are coming through the SP12, that are gritty, that the engineers EQing to make it real dirty. So like you said, if the last thing you heard from the Roots was Silent Treatment, and then you heard Clones, you probably was like, fuck, like, what happened here? Like, yo, these dudes were just in the jazz club and the record store chilling. Now they're in the middle of the street kicking shit over. Like, yo, what happened? You know? But and that's why I love Philadelphia. I love Philadelphia because of that SP 1200 sound. Gadget, I heard you don't like the Roots, man. You're the only person from Philly who don't like the Roots, man.
Yeah, man. I am not a Roots fan at all.
Like ever? Like
ever.
Wow.
Never like the Roots.
Conversation. That's all. I'm not mad at that post things fall apart because I haven't fucked with the Roots in years. But
hey, you actually need to do a show of legends that people actually don't like.
Shit, you can do that.
Yo, that's a good show, bro.
Yeah, there you go, right there. There you go, legends that people don't like.
I got a bunch of them.
I'm with you on that. Bro, what you got for yours, bro?
I'm gonna go to the Clip's second album, and it's the Wamp Wamp joint, man. Those drums, first of all, he playing like it's like congos on that, rolling toms on, like it's all different types of drums on that. That it almost sounds like a go-go beat, to be honest with you. And
yo, to be real with you, I never knew if that maybe people on here know. Anybody, I never knew if that was programmed. I didn't know if that was a break beat he found somewhere. I don't know what, because you're right. Just I remember hearing that being like, yo, this motherfucker Pharrell don't play when it comes to the clips. Like, this nigga really goes into a whole different bag when it comes to
there's a part on the song, maybe in the third verse.
In the third, I know what you're talking when it breaks down.
Out, and it just sounds like somebody playing Congo. Yo, man. If y'all ain't heard that, go back and listen to that drum. Them drums on there is crazy. It's like he like went in his bag for that, man. Like it wasn't just like let me just play this. Like it's like several different drums playing on that beat, man. It's crazy, man. So that's my pick, my second pick.
Bet the next joint I got up is "Make 'Em Envy" by Jay Dilla. I don't know if cats have heard that, but yo, if you haven't heard "Make 'Em Envy," just please go to YouTube after you watch this and put in "Make 'Em Envy." Those drums, bang! I mean, them jewels you rock, make 'em envy. Then he's using that MOP sample. It's like, good God, Dilla, you know, I mean, I got it down here somewhere, but it's so funny because Scratch Magazine, when Kanye was on the cover, all he could talk about was Dilla's drums. And Ye just being in the studio trying to steal Dilla's drums. Like, we gonna talk about that, you know, but Dilla's drums was on some whole nother shit. But you got that. Then the next breakbeat I'm gonna talk about is the Skull Snaps breakbeat that was made famous. This is Skull Snaps right here. This was made famous by the legendary Paul C. out of Queens, for Steezo's "It's My Turn." Whenever you put on Steezo's "It's My Turn," the first thing you hear is some drums, and that was the first time this break has ever been used. Eric Sermon used to use this so much. Before I really started digging, I used to call that the Eric Sermon break because he used it so much. It's all over Das's first album, but Paul C., who was the mentor of the Large Professor, who was murdered in like '89, I think, was the first to use these drums. And after that, people just went crazy with these drums. And it's funny because, Rel, I think you sent it to me. Premier has this thing called So What's Up?
So What's Up, yeah.
Where he's talking about breaking down different songs. And it's crazy because this is the sample to Come Clean. And I always wondered, why were you on this record? Because Shelly Manne is a jazz drummer. And I never understood that, but he was saying in the video, he was looking for drums. So he picked this up because it's a drummer and he just heard the water drops. And for years, that just always eluded me because I'm like, yo, what would make you pick this up? But I'm not even thinking of you're looking for drums. But that's crazy right there. So definitely the Skull Snaps, very, very famous break beat. Vern, what you got next up for yours, bro?
Of course, I'd be remiss if I left out my boys. So I'm going to do a 2-song combo of Hootie Hoo and Bombs Over Baghdad.
I knew that was coming.
I mean, when you hear it, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, drop, boom, boom. Man, I always get chill bumps when I think about I went to the reunion concert, and that's the first song they came out to. The crowd was like in a frenzy, and that beat dropped, and it was over. And then if you Hootie Hoo, after the first verse, and then those drums come in, it is so hard. Go back and listen to it because you might not remember how hard those drums were. But that's my third pick.
You know what, bro? Sitting here, give me a second. Let's see if I can find this. Yo, this was one of my favorite pictures, and I wish they had this as a poster. And it's just them in the studio. You see the SP1200, you see the MPC 3000. You know, like those drum machines. It was just such a oomph to them. And the thing with drum machines is like, you know, we go all the way back to TR-808, which is D Nice, where he got his name from. You know, I'm gonna start with the SP1200. That's what Pete is known for. And this is a very dope book, very hard to find, but if you can find it, cop it. It's everything on the SP1200. Is actually like the operating manual, and it's also interviews with like over 60, 70 producers who use the SP12. And it's funny because at least 80% of them say, I got the SP1200 because I saw that shit on the back of the main ingredient. And it was like, whatever Pete Rock is using, that's what I want to use. So it's just crazy to see the influence that Pete, you know, had on people. But during those times, I mean, Cats was rocking with, we go back to 90, you was either on the SP1200, the MPC 60, which is made famous by Premier,
Right.
and then you had the EPS 16.
And
if
you
we're
still,
talking 90.
I think the ASR 10 was out at the time.
No. The EPS came first. The EPS 16 was like prior to the ASR. The ASR popped up around like 94. That's made famous by RZA, Alchemist. Knots. Which is why it's on when you said Knots had some of the hardest drums. That's incredible on the ASR 10. You know what I mean? Because back in the day, cats would use the SP1200 and the S950 because the SP only had 10 seconds in it. You know what I mean? So you use the S950 as your backup sampler. You really only did drums on the SP, and then you use the S950 for your backup sampler. Not made famous, but aligned with it was Large Professor when he says, you know, stick it through the S950 and stretch it. He was talking about time stretching samples. And at the time, I didn't really fuck with the SP because you only got 10 seconds. And I wasn't, you know, I wanted something bigger. So I got the ASR 10. And my OG, a kid called Roots, you know, he had the SP and the ASR 10, but the ASR 10 as the sampler. And he was like, yo, I don't know how you gonna make drums on no fucking keyboard. And I gave him, I played some beats for him, and he was like, yo, your drums are whack, man. Like I told you, you can't play drums on no fucking keyboard. It crushed me. I was like crushed. And I was like, fuck it, I gotta show Roots I can make drums on the ASR 10. So it's just a testament of like, when I hear stuff out of Alchemist or RZA or, you know, Knots, that's like you're really trying to turn a keyboard into a drum machine. Like, to do a drum roll on the SP or anything, even on the machine, you just hit tap, repeat, and hit the pad, and it goes da-da-da-da-da-da. You do that on the ASR 10, you gotta tap the key like that. You gotta do that shit manually. So it's like, you know, like, I remember coming back months later playing shit for Roots, and he was like, oh, damn, you gotta tap, how you get a drum roll in there? I'm like, nigga, you do that shit manually. So that's a testament to what Tone was talking about with Knots, because yo, if you fuck with Knots' drums, Alchemist, Jake One still uses the ASR 10 to this day. You know what I mean? Like, I know Knots has moved on to the machine. Alchemist has moved on to, I think he's on an MPC something. But Jake One still uses the ASR 10 to this day, which is crazy too. And I love what Jake puts out. Veg, what's another one that you got, bro?
Another one for me is Dr. Dre's "Let Me Ride." I like that because it's just really smooth. You know what I'm saying? It's just perfect, right? Like, it's not unlike my other picks. Those were kind of like in your face, loud, boom bap. You know what I'm saying? Just straight head nod. This is more groovy. You know what I'm saying? In regards to how the drums are laid on it, but they're clear. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the thing about Dr. Dre's production, man. Especially on that track. It just sounds so pure. You know what I'm saying? But it still has the feeling of that time, right? Still has that griminess, that gritty, that grit to it, as far as the sound. But at the same time, it's so crystal clear and perfect for the track, perfect for what he's saying. Just a dope record in general. But yeah, man, every time I listen to that joint, it's like Eddie said with Incarcerated Scarfaces. Put it on and you're like, damn, fucking drums are dope. Like, it just fits perfectly, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, Dr. Dre, "Let Me Ride."
Them joints are some of those are Bill Withers drums. Those are some of my I've used them drums recently in 2021 and "Let Me Ride" is from 1992. You know what I mean? Like, those drums, like, and you said it's a perfect feel. Like, they're just beautiful. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're just perfect for that song, man. And they still sound incredible, you know, to me, like, all these years later, like, you know, still just crazy. Tone, what you got for another one for you, bro?
All right, first I'll get my Outcast on now because Organized Noise don't get the props they deserve. So he rocking Subliminal right here, baby. So, but anyway, I got Jay Dilla, that Running. You know what I'm saying? First time I heard Running, man, the drums, the way the beat was, it's one of the most beats of the time I ever heard. Man, I was like, what the hell did he do to get this beat to sound like this? You know what I'm saying? But the drums was dope, man. So yeah, Jay Dilla was definitely, he has a few couple on my list, but I'm gonna go with Running, man.
Incredible song, man. Incredible, man. I could talk about Dilla's drums all day, so I'm gonna just shut up. Gad, what you got up next, man?
I have an entire album. I couldn't pick a song, but every song on this album, the drums hit. Every effing song. Eric B. and Rakim paid in full. Just pick a song.
Yeah.
just pick a song.
Yeah. Now you're right.
Eric B. is president.
Ashley
My
Roach,
Melody.
Yep. I mean, so many classic break beats on that album. You know what I mean? And the funny thing about break beats is that, because I've debated with people about saying that break beats were lazy, and I'm always like, nigga, at that time, that's all we knew to do. You know what I mean? Like, that's just what we knew to do. It's like somebody trying to say, Jalil and Ecstasy were lazy MCs. Niggas, that's how they rhyme back then. Like, it wasn't being lazy. It's just, that's what we had. It's like somebody saying, 30 years ago, your car ain't have no navigation in it. Like, nah, nigga, we had a map. Like, that's just wasn't corny. Just we didn't have navigation yet, so it's not that break beats were corny, but you had to also get the right samples to get with them break beats. You know what I mean? A million people have used the Peace to President and have not used it, necessarily right, or used it in a song that necessarily blew up. So, like you said, there's everything off that album drum wise is crazy, man. And
I think to me, I think Marley's fingerprints are all over that album. He just doesn't I think he just gets credited with one song on that album.
Right. I mean, it's hard. It's hard, man. I always go back to, again, how hip hop changes. In the 80s, people didn't have drum machines in their houses like we do now. You know what I mean? So if Vegas is the only person with a drum machine in all of Brooklyn, and I come to Vegas, even if I come with the records, even if I say, I want to sample this and I want to use this breakbeat, he has to hook that shit up. You know what I mean? And it's not always an easy thing to be able to do, because the way you have it in your head isn't always going to be the way it comes out. You know what I mean? Now, do I think Marley could have gave co-production credit? Yeah, but I mean, I think, because everybody's saying, well, Marley ain't do shit because I brought the records. And I'm like, well, I think both of y'all did shit. You know what I mean?
Back then, if you owned the equipment, you were the producer. Like Kwame said, like, he produced his records, but he had to use Howie T's equipment. So Howie T was the producer.
Right, with her. I mean, yeah, and it just changes now that we have drum machines in our homes, and you buy an iPhone, you get GarageBand. I mean, now if you just buy an iPad, you can be a producer. You know, like we didn't have that back in the day. Like, you know,
don't put that out there.
What?
Don't put that out there. If you get an iPhone, you could
bro,
be a
it's
producer.
already, bro. It's
out there.
It's out there. It's been there. It ain't coming back, bro. Like, I never forget when I got the ASR 10. He was like, "Yo, why you ain't get the SP12 too, nigga? This shit was $3,000 by itself, nigga. Like I don't have anything left. Like, you know. And again, I say this all the time. There's a testament of why producers got better because we didn't. If you buy an iPad, you like, fuck it, let me try to produce. And then if you don't get good or you don't like it, you like, oh, well, fuck it, I just won't use GarageBand no more. You just delete it off the phone. After my mom took her credit card and got me an ASR 10. If I tried to go back home like, oh my, I don't fuck with that no more, she would have made like, yo, you couldn't just give up. Like, it wasn't no like, nigga, I just spent $3,000. You better get in there and make some beats. So, you know, if you want an ASR 10 and an SP12, and the turntable, and you gotta buy dog. You talking $6,000-$7,000 in 1994? What kid in college got $6,000-$7,000?
Right.
Trust fund, baby.
What'd you say?
The trust fund kid. That's all.
Yeah, the trust. Yeah, because I knew nobody at Morgan had it because we always doing any type of illegal scam we could to try to. We was trying to scam financial aid. We was trying to do all kinds of shit to do this. So, and that's why people got better because when you invest money in yourself, you're not just gonna throw it to the side. You ain't gonna go through all these scams to get this stuff and be like, oh, well, my beats are whack, let me just stop. No, nigga, you gonna keep on going until your beats eventually get better, you know, because you've invested so much in yourself. So,
Hey, Kill.
What's up?
Hey, Kill. Wasn't there a story that, gosh, I don't want to mess it up, but there was like these blackouts in New York City, like back in like the
the big blackout that happened,
where everyone raided the store and got the equipment.
Yeah. Because I mean, we couldn't afford it, dog. I mean, techniques like you can't. Like I think Large Pro was saying, like his mom took out a loan, and like I think he paid it right back because it was like he was able to sell beats and then he was able to give her the money back. But it's like, you know, I'm in Philly. Large Pro was with. You know, in these circles, it's like, yo, you just, again, you did it because you loved it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, of course, you're hoping to sell a beat, but it's just like, yo, I'm gonna do what I gotta do to get this equipped. This is what I need to do to make beats. And then even after you do all of that, here's the thing with the SP, the MP, none of them shits come with no sounds in them. So you done spent $6,000 and you still like, I still gotta go record shop.
Exactly, you still gotta dig.
Like we was talking before, watching the Wu-Tang joint over, I think they did an excellent job showing RZA go through that very thing, where you know he's making his beats one way, and he sees this SP1200 and he want that shit bad. You know what I'm saying? He think about stealing it. You know, he finally get the money to buy it. Like you said, the dude sold it to him with no manual. Remember? No manual. Like so. And he just like, fuck it, what this do, what that do, you know what I'm saying? So that's a testament to, you know, a person who cares about what they're doing. You know, it's not just a hobby to be hip. I mean, it was the same thing with people who rap. You know what I'm saying? Like with me, when I first started rhyming, you know, I wasn't ready to be in no ciphers. I was just happy to be making songs and shit. But I knew if I was gonna be outside and they like, oh, I heard you rhyme, spit something, I had to have some joints and I had to have worked on it. So it's the same thing with the producing, especially back then. Like everybody don't have it like that, but now, man, you got freeware and all types of shit. You could get software, you can make your own damn beats.
Some of this shit, some of the places I went just for a studio. My man hit me like, yo, Kill, my man got an ASR 10. I was like, let's go. Nigga, I was in a crack house. True fucking story. I'm in a fucking crack house in the basement and didn't give a fuck because it was an ASR 10 down there in the basement and we was making beats. Like, because again, people just didn't have those laying around. You just didn't. This wasn't like playing ball where there's a basketball court on every corner. Like, it was like, yo, if somebody got a drum machine, we going. Like, and that's just a testament of, like you said, like, and what you said with Wu-Tang was a great example because I'm watching that with Naomi and I'm like, this is all, I don't know if it's true to life for them. Like, I mean, I'm sure Rizzo, you know, was telling this story, but I'm like, that's my story. That's so many people's stories of wanting the SP 1200, but what 17-year-old kid got $3,500? You know what I mean? Unless you're selling drugs or unless you're doing some ill shit like that. And most people be like, $3,500, I'm gonna buy a whip. Everybody else at Morgan was like, fuck that, I'm getting a car. If I got $3,500, I'm gonna get a car. Not no drum machine so that you could play rap or play producer on that. So like you said, Vega, just went to the testament of how much we wanted to do it. So that's a dope point. Hey, what you got up next, bro?
All right, so I'm gonna bounce around my list a little bit. So you know, let me go with an Outkast joint, and I'm going with ATLiens. You know, title track, man. I love them drums. I love what they did with that. How they had the drum pattern, but then they added the little drum roll in there too. Like, really dope touch, man. But yo, I love it, man. It sounded like nothing else, man. You know, had its own flair.
I can't remember offhand, and I'm too lazy to reach across the room to see who produced that, if it was Organized or Outkast. But just to shout out Outkast and to also shout out Havoc or Mobb Deep. The thing that both of them I give so much respect for is that these dudes weren't producers at first. You know what I mean? And to me, to be able to sit up under Organized Noise, you know, for the time that Outkast did, and then I do know that they produced Elevators, which was crazy.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So the fact that, you know, it's one of those things where I've always wondered, like, yo, Google, you didn't learn how to make beats all these years sitting under Primo? Like, CL, you didn't learn how to make beats all these years chilling with Pete? Like nigga, you should be able to make your own beats. Like, you know what I mean? Like, while, you know, CL telling Pete, yo, make my beats, it's like, shit, make your own beats. You know what I mean? But Havoc was under Large Pro. He was watching stuff under Tip. And like I always said, yo, for like one of Havoc's first beats to be Shook Ones Part 2, like, bruh, like that's incredible. And like, to me, that's something that I don't think Havoc gets a lot of credit for, because I don't know if a lot of people don't know that he wasn't necessarily a producer in the beginning. Same thing with Outkast, and it's just, to me, that's a testament of wanting to learn. You know, maybe Guru and CL just didn't draw them, you know, so I can't knock them for that. But I definitely always gotta salute Havoc and Outkast, because these dudes went from just being MCs to becoming producers. And if anything, I want to say Havoc is probably more known as a producer than as an MC now.
He is. Yeah.
Right, which is huge. So salute to them for that. Bro, what you got, good brother?
I got Main Source, Faking the Funk.
Ooh.
When that John came out, that was like my favorite song at the time. And you know, that beat is crazy. And he like talking at the beginning, and then them drums hit, he started rapping, yo, and them drums hit. And in the video, he like is actually playing drums in the video. So, but yeah, Faking the Funk, that's my John. Hard.
Yo, man, it's so funny you name that. And one of the things I miss, and sampling clearance kind of hampered this a little bit. When you listen to Faking the Funk, like you said, when he comes in and he's talking, that's one sample. Then when the ba 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 ba, that's the main ingredient. That's another sample. Then when the bass line come in, that's like, I miss those days of like the Bomb Squad and like the main ingredient Pete Rock, where like you're mixing in. You know, I remember when I first heard the OG to Straighten It Out, and I'm like, wait a second, you mean the horns isn't the same place where he got the verse part from? Because it just sounds so perfect. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, that was just even more incredible that y'all are taking 3, 4, 5 different songs and just making them come together and just sound
together, yeah.
And it sounds like it's just all one song. I think the joint is like In This Generation by Ernie Hines, and then the chorus for Straighten It Out is Chocolate Buttermilk by Kool and the Gang. And I'm like, yo, how do you take Kool and the Gang and Ernie Hines and make it Straighten It Out? It's like perfect. Like, how do y'all do that? You know? And
like Vague said, "Let Me Ride," and you said the Bill Willis, but it's funky drumming in that too.
Yeah,
in that song too.
Right.
It's crazy how they do that, man.
Yeah, I miss those days, man. I miss those days. The next joint I got up Warning by Big with Easy Mo B. that when that came out, I remember being in my man Osei's studio in Baltimore and just constantly saying, I gotta get my snares to sound like Easy Mo Bees and Warning. Like that snare and Warning, those drums are just so hard. And I just remember trying to study that, like, yo, how do I get my snares to sound like this? How do I do this? You know what I mean? So that joint was just, crazy to me. And then not even understanding at that time, it's why the engineer and the producer work hand in hand together, because so much of that is the engineer tweaking things on his end. You know what I mean? Like, the snare may not sound the way we hear it if Mo B played it out to SP right now. It may not sound that great, but the engineer cueing it. And then for a breakbeat, my favorite breakbeat of all time is Impeach the President. And, Vague, you talked about that being one of Ill Will's favorite breakbeats, which is why we got Vague for President on the Willmatic joint with me using Impeach the President. The first time I heard Impeach the President, I'll never forget. I was at his 7th grade, 1987. I'm at this shorty's birthday party in the basement. I'm trying to kick it with her. It's her birthday, so everybody talking. So I finally get the chance to kind of go in and kick it. And then DJ throws on Do the James by Super Lover C and Casanova Rudd. And it was the first time I ever heard Do the James. And I was just like, yo, what the fuck is that? What are these drums? Like, I forgot all about Shorty. Like, I was like, yo, I went to the DJ like, yo, what is this? So one of my favorite breakbeats, Impeach the President. If cats have never heard it, I'm sure you've heard it. You know what I mean? You may not have known you heard it, but you've heard it. It's been used everywhere. Another one of my favorite people who used it, De La Soul on Ring, Ring, Ring. The first single off of De La Soul is Dead. That's Impeach the President. If you remember those old Sprite commercials with CL and Grand Poobah, they arriving over Impeach the President. I mean,
Jazzy Jeff Fresh Prince.
Yeah. Matter of fact, we want to talk about Impeach the President. We can talk about what's Benny's last album, Burden of Proof. Hit Boy used as Impeach the President on a joint with him and Freddie Gibbs. And it's funny because people was like, Kill, can you give me them Benny drums? And I'm like, really? We calling them Benny drums?
Give you the what?
They wanted the Benny drums.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? So, it's like, yo, I want the Benny drums. And I'm like, Impeach the President? Like, nigga, like, okay, cool. Sure. Okay. I give you the Benny drums. Yeah, I can give you the Benny drum. So, but another incredible breakbeat. So, definitely check that out. All right, what you got for another one, good brother?
All right, if I ever have to commit a felony, I'm gonna put this song on first. Line 'Em Up by Freeway.
Ooh, Just Blaze.
Oh man! Wow!
It starts off.
Wow! Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom. Man, that's like if I have a stressful day at work, I come in here. That's one of the songs I'm gonna play, and I don't care who in the house, who trying to sleep or study. I'm finna get this aggression out. Line 'em up. I mean, and then Freeway, the spit he's spitting is stupid too. Hessler and Koch like a school bus. Yeah, man. Line 'em up. Just Blaze committed a felony when he made that track, bro.
I forgot about that song. Wow, man.
One of the things I love about Just has always had hard drums. Like, you know what I mean? But the thing that I used to, it's funny, my man Apex, shout out to my man Apex. He used to always argue me down about stuff with drum machines. Cause like I was saying, back in the day, it was MPC, SP12, ASR10, anything else was frowned upon. Just used the MPC 4000. So for drum machine heads, what happened was the MPC was made by Roger Lynn. So the MPC 60, the MPC 62, and the MPC 3000 were all made by Roger Lynn. The first joint not made by Roger Lynn was the MPC 2000, then the XL. So anything after the MPC 3000 was not made by Roger Lynn, and producers and drum heads were like front on anything like that. So Just was on the 4000. So what I loved about Just was he kind of put to rest that you have to be on these machines in order to make dope hip hop. Because Gadget, I don't know about you. I don't know any producer who had a 4000.
No, I don't either.
I used to have the 2000 XL, but I don't know anybody who's on the 4000s. But he's on the 4000, and again, Just Blaze's drums bang. And it's funny because I was saying my man Apex, because he used to always be like, nah, nigga, I could hear a song and know what drum machine made. I was like, nigga, get the fuck out of here. You can't hear it. You know what I mean? So what I love about this album by the Beat Miners, if cats haven't heard this, please listen to this. It's a very, very dope album. What I loved about it is Walt, Evil, Baby Paul, Rich Black, all the Beat Miners put what they used on each song. So this is the first time I think it's ever happened in hip hop. So I was like, bet Apex, what's this right here? And that nigga was like, that is the SP1200. I was like, wrong. Like Charlie Murphy, wrong. Niggas the MPC 60. Like we literally went through each thing. And I'm like, bro, like, you know, you can't tell once it's been mixed and mastered and all that, bro. You can't sit here and tell me that you just know that's an MPC 3000 or that's an ASR 10. I was shocked when I found out the RZA made Into the 36 on the ASR 10. You know what I mean? Like, I remember Roots telling me, yo, I was in the studio with Alchemist and he was only on the ASR 10. He was like, oh shit, like that's all you use? Because during those times, you either was using these three machines. It was SP12 or usually the MPC something, you know. So that's a dope point. That's a dope point with Just. Vay, what you got up next for yours?
Shit. I had Made You Look by Nas. Again, that sample is, you know, classic. But I don't know if it was the fact that they kind of cleaned it up some or what, or brought it out a little bit more. But every time I hear that song on the radio or listening to the Godson album, it had to be the single because it just stands out, you know, because of that beat. And then Nas does what he was supposed to do on that shit, and just a dope ass track. That's Alon Remy, right? I think.
Yeah.
That was, to me, that was dope because it was something old school, but it felt new because it wasn't. It just didn't have the same sound. It was more crisp and clear, kind of in the vein of the other ones I mentioned earlier. So, just a dope way to take something that we're all familiar with and kind of breathe new life into it. Dope track, for real.
Yo, Vegas, that joint will always stick with me. Obviously, it's a classic, but the first time I ever heard that joint, I was in Miami. I was on my honeymoon in Miami. This was September 2002. So, like, I was in my honeymoon. I'm hearing it on the radio, Miami radio station, for the first time. And I'm going crazy, like, oh, this sounds bonkers. Like,
right.
So I'll never forget that. I mean, not only like I said, it's a classic, but like to hear it during my honeymoon at that point was crazy.
The other thing about Made You Look, man, it's got one of my top 5 Nas bars with "Don't say the car's topless, say the titties is out." Like that's like, to me, one of the dopest bars ever in the existence of hip hop. You know what I mean? So yeah, Made You Look is crazy, bro. And I mean, Apache is crazy. Incredible bongo band for people watching. Prayerfully, y'all taking notes. Listen to Apache, incredible bongo band. There was another joint that was used off of there for Nas and AZ. They had a joint called Serious. That's also the incredible bongo band, which is bonkers too. So, what you got for another one, bro?
Man, I'm in conflict right now between North Trip and QU Hectic, man. I mean, just like Homer said about Paid in Full, I feel like that about the Infamous, man. The drums are bananas all the way throughout the Infamous, whether Abstract or Havoc. But man, Up North Trip, man, just the way them drums.
A lot of people don't talk about too, and that's a banger too, man.
Right.
That's a repeat song when I'm riding Up North Trip. That beat bangs, bro. I love it.
Yeah. You're right. There's not. Again, man, I just salute Havoc, man, because to go from not producing your first album to going to producing probably 60 to 70% of your second album and making the Infamous, like that's crazy to me. You know, to be like, yo, I didn't produce shit on this album, but I produced 70% of this album, and it's a 5 mic classic. Like, the drums are banging, the samples are banging. Like, it wasn't one of those things like, they good, but the drums don't bang, or the drums bang, but the samples ain't good. Like, again, I just think Havoc got to get all his flowers for that, because that's unheard of. You know what I mean? That's like a nigga you're like, yo, saying I never played basketball, and then next summer that nigga's on the varsity high school team, like, and ranked on ESPN's top 50. Like, how did you not play basketball last year? And now you're like a top 50 recruit out the United States. Like, our minds would be blown by that. And it's like, I just want folks to give Havoc his love, because that's literally the equivalent of what happened. Like, you're not going to find somebody who didn't play basketball in 1989 and then in 1990 they're a top 50 ESPN recruit. That's not going to happen. So,
thank you.
Like, what's up, bro?
And that same person, that example, that person actually went to the NBA as well. Because you think about what Havoc did with the Infamous, he went from basically a no-name producer to people can argue that the Infamous is one of the maybe top 10 best produced albums in the history of the culture. Mm-hmm. You can argue that. Right. Mm-hmm. It's a legit argument. You know what I'm saying?
Again, bro, at 47, if it's in the ballpark, I don't even argue no more. Like, if it's in the ballpark, like if we in Citizens Park, like, nigga, right, I'm good. And I'm not mad at that. But here's the other kicker. Then you go on to make Hell on Earth, which is all Havoc. You know what I mean? So, you know, with the Infamous, it's like, all right, you still had a little tip here, but then you go start making shit like, you know, Still Shining, like, you know, like, yeah, Godfather Part 3, like, you know, like, we ain't even talking about what he did. I mean, just how he went. I mean, Tone is almost like you said, from going from not playing basketball, ESPN top recruit 50, going to Duke, and then coming out being a top 3 draft pick, like being a right pick. And you asking this nigga at the draft, it's like, yeah, 3 years ago I ain't never played basketball. Like, your mind would be blown. Like, nigga, you a lottery pick, and it's like that's literally what Havoc did, which is unheard of. You know, so again, salute to Hav for that, because and the shit he cooked up on that last Conway album with Flea Lord and Lord Banks was crazy too. You know what I mean? That just dropped. So it's like this dude still got bangs. So yeah, what you got up for your next one, bro?
This next one, just like the Clips beat, this beat should be its own break beat. Audio 2 top billing.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
I had it on the top list.
I don't even understand how I ain't write that down. But again, I just went off top 5. I just went off the top. But
like, soon as that beat drops, you already know. You already know.
And it's like you said, it's just like the Clips. It's nothing else. It's just the drums. It's just the drums. Right. And Veg, tell me this: how long was that the BK anthem for? Like. It did anything? I know Annie Up is out, you know, I know Ghost Steps are one, but I just always looked at top billing as the Brooklyn anthem. Like, you know. Yeah.
Probably back then, more than anything, my anthem. I just remember, I'm glad you came to me on this, because I remember, like, you know, when the bridge was out in South Bronx, and, you know, as some people know, you know, my ties to Queensbridge, you know, they play that shit all the time, and I used to be like hating, like, what the fuck, like, why we don't have an anthem? Like, we better than these people. And man, when that top billing came out, you couldn't tell me shit. Like, it was like, yeah, you know what I'm saying, this Brooklyn shit out. It was literally the anthem for a minute, but then Biggie Smalls came in. Whatever he has is the anthem. Like, it doesn't matter. And Foxy, a little bit, the BK anthem was kind of shit for a minute. But whatever Big did, Unbelievable, Warning, don't matter. That became the anthem to me.
But speaking of, like, who said, Gadget said it could be a breakbeat, but it was sampled from Mary, right? Real Love? So,
yes.
Yeah.
So it essentially became a breakbeat, you know, for that.
And 50 Cent, I Get Money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. And that's sampling and Impeach the President, but and I never got to drum programming. Drum programming is when you chop up your drums, and you can take the snare from Impeach the President, but I'll take the kick from the skull snaps, and then I program the drums myself. I put them on individual pads, on individual keys if you're on the keyboard, and you decide how you want them to be played. So, you may want a duh instead of it just being a duh, like a boom cat. If that's the like Billy Squire's Big Beat.
And you know who produced that?
Who, Billy Squire? No, I don't.
No. Audio 2 Top Billing.
That was Daddy-O, right?
Daddy-O from Stetsasonic.
Because what I heard was they did it, and then they went to Daddy-O like, yo, we came up with this, add something to it, and he was like, that shit fine the way it is. You know what I mean? So I don't, I'm not sure how that constructs, but I do know somehow, some way. But when you look at Billy Squire's Big Beat, it's just boom, boom, ka, boom, boom, ka. It's just that. You could take, instead of it going boom, boom, ka, boom, boom, you could make it go boom, boom, ka, boom, 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 ka. Like, that's how doing drum programming was. So it was like you could take the drums yourself, and then now you had the freedom to replay them however you felt. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like that's how like the break beat kind of went out. So you would still maybe use the kicks and snares from here and there, but now you could. So what Vague was talking about on Temperatures Rising off of Mobb Deep, that's Tip doing the drum programming and playing the drums the way he wanted to. On Nas' One Love, that's him, Tip, playing them drums the way he wanted to. You know what I mean? So it kind of gave you the freedom to be able to do that. One thing the MPC is infamous for is the MPC swing. So what happens with programming, with producing, your swing, say you got a drum that goes boom, boom. You want it to go boom, boom. And you want to add some swing to it. So, the MPC was famous for that. So a lot of the machines, like even the machine and anything that's been made after the MPC, they're always talking about that infamous MPC swing that you could add to it and everything like that. Bro, what you got up next, good brother?
You didn't
go ahead? I'm sorry.
So my next one, this is another one that just smacks you in the face, and that's a War Tour by Tribe.
Wow.
Let
me take that off the list.
Yo, man, and I feel like with this beat, like them drums are crazy, but this was also on our last show when we were talking about bass lines. Mm-hmm. And I feel like this to me is like one of my favorite hip hop beats. And it could be on many lists, like so many different elements. But yo, those drums just smack you in the face, man.
Yeah. Let's sample Snitch too. Y'all know where he got that bass line from, right?
Is that Jay Don't Walk Away?
Don't Walk Away. That's crazy. When I heard him say that on Questlove, I was like, what?
Wow. I didn't even know that.
Say that again?
He got the doom doom boom 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 from Jay Don't Walk Away.
Don't Walk Away.
I know I heard him say that he heard that and it inspired him to make it. I didn't know he sampled it.
He sampled it. Go back and listen to that Questlove episode. Yeah, he sampled it, bro.
Yeah.
Wow. I had no idea. That's why I love Apartment 5B. I find out new shit every episode. I had no idea. Wow. Yeah. Bro, what you got up next, bro?
I got Pete Rock and CL Smooth in the Flesh. Man, one of my favorite beats of all time. And those drums, man, I don't know, man. I don't know how you do it sometimes, man. Like, but yeah, in the Flesh, man. That off the Main Ingredient, John, man. That song is crazy. That beat that's one of the best beats of all time to me, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? My opinion can be wrong, but in my opinion, that's one of my favorites. So I'm gonna go with that one.
And you know that's what gets me when people will talk about Pete being just Troy, right? But yeah, I mean Troy may be his magnum opus, but he got so many beats that is like shitting on anything else out. I mean he's just a savant. I mean Pete Rock is just a savant, man. I just
that's a fact.
Man, that Main Ingredient album is come on, man. That album is like almost perfect, dog. I mean, you just put it on and just let it play.
Some of the best production you're gonna hear on one project is on the Main Ingredient. It's an amazingly produced album.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Pete Pete is on some, and again, like I said, you know, the SP 1200, man, it just, you know, Magic came out that machine. Pete, you know, like I said, everybody in this book said they got it because of Pete. Like Pete knew that machine inside and out. Like folk don't know Pete was one of the first people to start filtering bass lines. You know what I mean? So that's a whole nother thing with Pete. Eddie, I'm gonna stay in your world with Q-Tip, and I'm gonna go with the drums from the World Is Yours remix by Nas.
Oh yeah.
When I heard that joint, you know, and I remember hearing the original World Is Yours, and I had just started interning up at EAA, and Vinny V was like, "Yo, we got this in the mail, this new sampler with a new Nas song." He played the World Is Yours, and I was like, "Yo, that may be the dopest thing I've ever heard in my life." Like that shit, hearing that for the first time, I was like, "Yo, that's crazy." Then when I heard the remix, it was like the who's what, and then the drums come in. It was like, and then the video just took it to
Video, yeah.
the video, because I felt like the video for the World Is Yours was whack. Like I was like, this is it. But the video for the World Is Yours, where he like, yo, I'm in Queens and niggas is in the spot and you've seen all the scams people run. It was like, yo, that joint was just hard as hell. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. I don't. Q-Tip and Pete had like a little. I feel like, and this is just my opinion. I'm not putting nothing out there. I felt like they had a little rivalry though. I felt like there was a little, you know, and not a friendly rivalry either. I don't mean like a Primo RZA, like, oh yo, you wait till you hear this piano joint. This, you know, the original Dirty Rotten. And RZA be like, oh, I got something for you too, and then it being, you know, Cream. I think it was on Small because, you know, Pete said that he had the jazz beat playing in his basement, and Tip came over and heard it, and next thing you know, it's on the low end theory. You know, Pete like, yo, I had to rack it out. He could see what I used or whatever. And Tip says, you know, Pete Rock on the beat, but it's like, it don't say produced by Pete Rock. You know what I mean? And I felt like there was always like this little oomph there, you know what I mean? Because of that, you know what I mean? And Nick, I gotta salute Nick because he's the one who brought this up. He was like, yo, did you ever peep how Midnight off of Midnight Marauders is the same sample off of the main ingredient, the actual song on the main ingredient? And I was like, no, I don't think I would put two and two together. He was like, yo, it's the same elements as everything. And it's almost like Pete was saying, like, I'm gonna take what you did and make it dope. So again, this is just reading into the tea leaves of hip hop. Please don't Kill said, Pete said. I ain't saying nobody said nothing. I'm just saying that, you know, I could definitely see that because they're both very, very dope. For another breakbeat, I'm going with Synthetic Substitution. The first time I heard that was on a song called Ego Trippin' by Ultramagnetic MCs. Most people know that joint as MC Ultra Magnetic. Those drums are the Synthetic Substitution drums. World famous breakbeat. That was the first time I heard that. Again, top 5 breakbeat to me. And again, anybody who knows me knows I love MC Ultramagnetic's first album, Critical Beatdown. It's one of my top 5 favorite hip hop albums ever. So definitely check that out.
Paul C as well?
What'd you say?
Wasn't that Paul C as well?
I think so. I think Paul C engineered it. I'm not sure if he engineered it, produced it. I know Paul C is in the credits somewhere, somehow. I just saw an interview with Said G saying how when he met Paul C, like they just clicked because they both were like these SP 1200 geniuses, and what Paul knew, Said didn't, and what Said knew, Paul didn't. So I know it says engineered by Paul C, but I don't know how much Said did and how much Paul did, vice versa. But Paul C's name is definitely in that mix somewhere for that record. So definitely. Vern, what's your last joint, good brother?
Man, I'm sitting here battling over these last two, man.
We had the last one.
Just throw them up both up, man.
All right, cool. So we're gonna stay on the Q-Tip love tip. Give up the goods. The snare snaps so hard, and then let's get it on, Smith & Wesson, bro.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's another felony song right there, bro.
Yeah. You ain't never lied, man. For both of those joints, man. the Give Up the Goods is just so crazy because again, it's just Tip doing Tip with the letting the drums intro in the song with the cat, just step like, oh my god, like, yo, I tell you, man, these niggas Tip and Pete, man, they're aliens, man. They're just, man. You know, they're aliens, and me and Porsche always go back and forth about the love I give Marley, but I'm like, yo, he's the template. Like, I'm not saying he's the best ever, but there's something to be said about the first person who did something, because it's like, I don't know if, you know, like Gadget just said, yo, Marley was doing drum programming in 86, and most niggas Primo didn't get around to it till 95. Like, dog, it's like, you know, there's something to be said, in my opinion, about the first person to do it. Veg, I don't know if you agree, like with an MC that uses a style. Like, you know, like when I first heard Broken Language by Smooth the Hustler, it was like, yo, what the fuck style is that? Like, it was like watching a karate movie. Like, what's that crazy, style? Like, what is this style where you just keep rapping like this? I've never heard that.
That joke is nuts.
It still is today. But the funniest part about it is, I'll never forget, I heard Heather Headley's song "He Is," which is a slow jam, and the first thing out of my mouth was she using the Smooth the Hustler style. Like, yo, this shit is doing Smooth the Hustler. Like, you know what I mean? It's just something to be said to me about. And Veg, do you agree with being an MC? Like, when somebody uses a style for the first time?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was listening to Das Effect's Dead Series today, and you know, like in hindsight, you're looking at it like, what the fuck are they talking about? But back then, nobody was rapping like that, and it was, and you're trying to figure out, like, is that difficult? You know what I'm saying? Like to do and to maintain, you know, as opposed to being like a Rakim or a KRS-One, where, you know, you rhyming the way, you know, you're using the words the way they were meant to be used, as opposed to throwing these, Rel gonna have to help me out. What is it? Prefixes? what is it? Adjectives? But you know what I'm saying? Like, it was just, it is mind blowing. Like, one thing, even though they're not a crazy group or nothing like that, but I always give them props, is the Migos, right? Because they came out with a style of rapping today that everybody copied, including Drake. Like, these cats put out hits using their original style, and it's kind of dope to see that, even though, you know, it's probably not our cup of tea, but to see that element of hip hop still exists, and to see the same thing happen with their style that happened to Das Effects. You know, yeah, it's always commendable when you see that. So.
Vern, what you got, bro?
Man, that was the time. That's what, 91, 92?
Yeah, 90. It's like 90, 91.
Yeah, I'm at the warehouse. All these open mic joints, nigga. Everybody was iggity stiggity. I mean, they changed the world, bro. so to relegate them to some novelty act, you weren't outside, and that's you know, and you shouldn't even speak on it.
And the hard part about Das, and this may have to be another show, y'all help me come up with the topic. I know nobody really liked this second album, Straight Up Suicide, because the production wasn't great, but them niggas was rapping their ass off on that second album. Like, they were rapping their asses off with no iggity, no stiggity. It was like, yo, we done with that. And I get, like, the production wasn't great, but I mean, trust me, y'all. If the beats don't get me, I usually don't listen. They was rapping their ass off. They were really rapping. I mean, even not Benz or Beam, Hard Like a Criminal. It was a song that was like just the Lucy that was out there. Hard Like a Criminal was dope as hell. They're telling the story, like the beat was crazy. Like, you know, like Das, I just feel like gets this asterisk, like you said, like they was just some parody of hip hop, like they was some novelty act, like they was some Weird Al Yankovic shit. But like, yo, mad niggas was wearing fatigues. Mad niggas was wearing Timberland boots. Niggas act like Boot Camp invented that. Yo, Das looked more Boot Camp back in 90 than Boot Camp did in 95. Like, you know,
everybody shooting a video. Everybody shooting a video in the damn sewer.
Yeah.
I mean, the locks, the dreads, all that shit was all Das. You know what I mean? Like, and it's funny because, like, again, it's just like, oh, they just a novelty act. It's like, nah, nigga, like they was the Boot Camp clique before the Boot Camp clique. Like, they were the first niggas I saw rocking fatigues. Not taking skill, then I feel like you said, they just kind of get thrown to the side.
back then in the club, when you heard
Dun,
dun,
dun.
dun, 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 oh my god,
Yo, or
it was over.
When the Mike Checker remix came out with the dun dun like, and then that dun
Yeah.
dun before, yo man, y'all again. That's them cats who be like Bismarck was a one-hit wonder with Just a Friend. Like that.
You had to be outside.
You had to be outside. And let's talk about Pete Rock's remix of Das.
Just one.
Real hip hop.
Real hip hop.
Real hip hop. Come on, man. You had to be outside. Stop talking, because you don't know what you're talking about. Go to the kids' table.
Right.
I love the Thanksgiving scene of it being like the adults are at this table, the teenagers are at that table, the little kids are over there. Y'all go talk to the 8-year-old. You talk to your little cousin over there, because you had to be outside for that DOS shit, because it was just crazy. Who did I leave with? Vegas? Vern, did you?
It's vague.
What you got for your last joint?
My last one, I got KRS-One, Out of Here.
Ooh.
Like when I heard that, like you know what it's like? It's like when like KRS-One was associated with the era with BDP, right? Mm-hmm. So like all of my props that I would give him, all the admiration I gave him was from those days. And now, you read and it's like, oh, there's no BDP, it's just him. I don't know if it's going to be dope or if it don't matter because it's mostly him. But man, when I heard that beat and he ripped that shit, I was just like, KRS-One is different. Like, he's different. And Premier is different because, goddamn, that Out of Here beat, that's like, that's one of them dangerous shits, right? Like Annie Up, right? Like when Annie Up was on back in the days, and this was during the Shiny Suit era, it was like, I think y'all better get off the dance floor. Somebody gonna get fucked up because niggas gonna be wilding. Out of Here kind of gave you that feeling, like you just, you know what I'm saying? Just a dope record, and Premier killed that shit. It's just like I can listen to that beat by itself. Like it's that dope. So
yeah, Out of Here was just so stupid because we named that on the Baseline show, like one of the dopest bass lines. You know what I mean? So it's just like you just put that. To me, that was just that whole boom bap album for '93 was just a match made in heaven. KRS and Premier were just like, I know we always talk about the KRS, the Premier Nas album or the Premier Big album, but I feel like that KRS Primo album was beautiful too. You know what I mean? So that's dope pick. Tone, what you got for your last one, bro?
Right, before I say my last one, I was thinking about when you said about Paul C and Critical Beatdown. So he actually produced a song with the purpose for the show. Paul C produced track number 11, Give the Drummer Song. So that's perfect. So Paul C did Give the Drummer Song.
And great, Give the Drummer Song was crazy too.
Right. And my last one is Pete Rock's joint on Rakim album, The Saga Begins. You know what I'm saying? Man, I ride with that one in the car as well, bro. Yeah, it's real hard. Saga Begins.
That joint was crazy, man. That was one of them times where I wish Rakim would have just did a Pete Rock Premier produced album. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like that would have just been stupid at that time because you got Saga Begins and you got Rakim with Been a Long Time. I just feel like that would have been a perfect mesh of an album. Speaking of that album, I'm still mad that album never came out. You know what I mean? Because there was supposed to be a Pete versus Premier album where they were going to get 6 MCs and the other one wasn't going to know who they got. So the first time that Pete would hear Premier songs would be when the album dropped. So it literally would just be like the same time we hear it, Pete would be hearing who Primo got, Primo would be hearing who Pete got. And I just thought that was a crazy dope concept. And I have no idea why we never got that out, because I thought that could have been, crazy right there. Because I was like, yo, Premier could fuck around and get CL Smooth on a joint. Like, that'd be crazy. Like, that would. Like, yo, I'm gonna take your nigga and make him sound better, and you ain't gonna hear it till everybody else hears it. Like, so I thought that would have been crazy, and I had no idea why that never happened. But I still don't know why did they lie album produced by Pete and Premier never happened. That's been supposed to be talked about for years.
Oh yeah, what happened to that?
Who knows? Like, I'm still waiting for this Black Star Madlib produced out. Who knows what the hell happens without?
Stop
Look,
announcing. That's why. Don't stop announcing.
There are people in Brooklyn who have never collaborated. Like
Right.
you ever heard of a Busta Primo record?
Right.
Not even one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's crazy. What you got for your last joint, Gadget?
Oh man, I got like 8 songs. But- hold on. All right, I'm just gonna run it down real quick. Artifacts, Wrong Side of the Tracks.
Crazy.
Antoinette, I Got an Attitude. One of your favorite drum breaks.
You could pause it right there because that shit started so much drama. Antoinette's I Got an Attitude. Just for folk out there who may not know, here's a hip hop history moment. That song is what started the whole 10% diss beat with MC Light because the audio too felt like Antoinette Herbie using that break beat the same way they used for top billing was biting, was perjury, and let's get light on them, and then we never heard from Antoinette again. So those were the days, like I said, you really got canceled because here's the thing, that was a hard ass song. Antoinette's I Got an Attitude is one of my favorite songs. Like, again, this is how hip hop was. You could have The Bridge, which was an incredible song, and get dissed, and you would never heard from it again. Like, niggas just did not want to touch it. And the same exact thing happened with Antoinette. I Got an Attitude was huge when that dropped. But after 10% diss, it was like, ain't nobody cared nothing about Antoinette's Who's the Boss out. Like, nobody cared anymore. So, all right, guys, just had to throw that quick hip hop history.
Oh no, it's cool. I had to have Pete Rock, True Master, and Fakin' Jax on the I&I album.
Right.
Fakin' Jax may be the best flip of Impeach the President ever, in my opinion.
Yes. I got Showbiz and AG Next Level, the DJ Premier remix. We talked about that on Twitter the other day.
The way Primo started that joint off with the drums.
Yeah.
I forgot there was even an original. That's how dope that song
exactly.
is. I forgot the original Showbiz and AG joint Next Level because Primo just came in and destroyed it.
Right. I got the Fugees Killing Me Softly.
Little feet break from Bonita.
Rakim, Guess Who's Back.
Okay, Nick Wiz.
Yeah. And a lot of people have never heard this song that Swiss produced for Jay-Z called Stop. But
Never heard that.
You YouTube it after this show. And the last one, this wasn't a drum break. The drums are actually in the song, and he used the drums. Ice Cube, Today Was a Good Day. Like them Osley Brothers drums smack.
Yeah.
That's it, bro.
All right, Eddie, what you got for your last joints?
Oh man, I got a bunch. So let me go
Just
through.
run them down.
So,
This is one of a few times on Apartment 5.
I'm gonna run it down, man. All right, so I'm going with Smith & Wesson, Bucktown. I'm going with Jizza, Cold World.
The remix.
Yeah, I personally like the remix.
Both, man. I
remix
like the
was
OG
crazy to me.
Yes.
I'm going with if I'm going gangster, I'm going with Dwick and Bust Your Shit. I'm going with One Love. I'm doing the Nag Champa that Dilla did for Common. Man at Work, Cool G rapping, DJ Polo. And I gotta do Down with the Kings, man, that Pete produced for Run DMC.
Yeah, that was hard.
Yeah, that was hard. That was dope. Bro, what you got?
All right, my last two, I got two more. I got It's Yours, Wu-Tang.
Oh, okay.
Not
No, but you know what? You just gave me another one then. Because when you said It's Yours, I'm like, God damn, T-La Rock, you motherfucker.
T-La Rock, yeah.
But that
Wu-Tang joint, It's Yours, that was fire. And I got Outkast, Mamacita. Those drums is hard, and that verse from 3000 was next level. So yeah, those are my last two.
All right. I got the Basement, Pete and CL, but I'm talking about the drum beat before the song even comes on. So if you just go to the Basement, you're gonna hear this drum break that Kanye went on to use for his joint Runaway. So if you just go listen to, I mean, the Basement is hard as hell too, but it's this break. Like I said, if you got the CD, if you go to the Basement, you're gonna hear a drum break before you even hear the song Basement, which is crazy. And then I got Gangstar's Take It Personal. When I first heard Take It Personal and them drums come in, oh my brain blowing up emoji, because that was crazy to me. Now tell me this, what producer do you think has the hardest drums? And I'm gonna talk a little bit about the difference between, I got a producer who has the hardest drums, but then I also have a producer who I feel is the best programmer, which are two totally different things. You know, to kind of break that down, I did this joint when I was at Brick Oven Pizza in Baltimore the other day with this chicken, this pizza cheesesteak wrap I got. My man was like, yo, how you gonna get that shit 5 mics, man? That thing look all tiny on your plate. And I said, bro, I eat different now, man. I don't eat to get stuffed no more. Like back in the day, if I came to Philly, I'd be like, yo, it's a 5 mic cheesesteak because I'm stuffed. Not because it tastes good, not because the meat is right or it's seasoned good. It was just like, yo, am I stuffed or not? So I'm like, this 5 mics is not gonna have you stuffed, but I don't eat like that no more. So to me, there's a difference between the hardest beats and then who's the best drum programmer. So if y'all could differentiate it, that's cool. If not, you know, you could just go with who got the hardest drums. If you have one producer and you're like, yo, I need the hard ass drums, who are you going to? Vern, who you got?
Justin Blaze for hard.
You mad at that?
And then you said program.
Yeah, who you think can program drums the best? Like when you hear them, they just sound.
Q-Tip. We named too many of his songs, so I'm gonna say Q-Tip.
I ain't mad at that. Can't be mad at that. Veg, what about you, bro?
I'm the same. I'm gonna go with I'm the same about the hardest drum beats. I would agree. Just Blaze. I don't know if it's just top of mind, but I think the majority of the time when you think of his production, you know, that comes to mind instantly. Program, again, y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but Timberland stands out to me. Because that's one thing about his production where I'm like, you know, I'm not a producer, so I'm like, I don't know what this nigga be doing, but every time he got a beat,
I'm a producer, I'm a producer, and I'm like, yo, I don't know what the fuck he be doing. You know, and then let me say for this, I'm talking about Timberland 20 years ago, Timberland. You know what I mean? Like like that. Like I want to make sure folk at home understand. I'm talking about when I first heard 1 in a Million, I was in my man Osei basement. We always looking at the video like, yo, what the fuck is going on with these drums? Like, why are the drums moving like that? You know? Right. And then everybody, from gospel artists to R&B to everybody.
Yeah, Rodney Jerkins and all them boys.
Everybody was doing their drums like that. So, Veg, you 100% right on Timberland.
Hey, Kill, let me jump in. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Nah, let Veg finish and then I'll come to you. What you saying, Veg?
No, I was just gonna say, man, it was just the thing that always stood out. Like when you asked that question about programming, the other producers, I could kind of get what they're doing because I was probably supposed to be a producer at one point, but I started rapping. But I could get what they're doing with the drums. But when it's Timberland, I'm like, this some Wicked Street shit. I don't know what he's doing. Shit just sound ill and different. It's crazy. So yeah, that was mine.
Timbo definitely changed the game, bro. What were you gonna say, Vern?
Vegas just made me think of one other Just Blaze is just stupid. Is that public announcement, Jay-Z?
Oh yeah,
those drums, just stupid. Yeah.
You know what? And that's a great point because there have been times when people have used the same samples. You know what I mean? That somebody else. OC, Buck Wild had that as an interlude on Word Life. So Buck was the first to unearth that sample. But Black Moon also had a song out called Stay Real at the time that used the same sample. That sample is it's this sample right here, this Little Boy Blues record. That's the sample for PSA. And But I'm always telling people, yo, go listen to Black Moon's version, then go listen to Jay-Z's version. You gonna hear the difference, nigga. Like you people can use the same sample, but it don't mean that it's gonna be the same. Another great example of that is Pete and CL use the my brain Rising to the Top sample, the Kenny Burke Rising to the Top sample. OC and Buck Wild used it for Born to Live off of Word Life. And again, this is no disrespect to Buck Wild, but when you play them two songs back to back and you hear the beat drums, it's almost like, and I mean, Buck Wild got some nice tap repeats in there. It's not like the drums are boring, the drums are moving, but just if you're watching, just do that. Just open up 2 YouTube clips and play. I forgot what song is that. That Pete. It was a single for Pete and CL. It was a second single off Man Ingredient.
Take You There. Take You
There. Take You There. Open up Pete and CL's Take You There. Open up OC's Born to Live. And again, it's no disrespect, but Pete's drums just hit so much harder. So, it's just an example of how 2 people can use the same sample, but one just overpowers the other. So, dope picks, Beg. Tone, what about you?
I mean, the hardest, like I said earlier, I'm going with Knots, man. I mean, that's what I know him for, bro. Every time I ride the Knots, the shit just bang harder than anyone I heard. I would have Blaze right after him. Programming, man, Vague made me think about Timberland, man, because I was listening to him, Aaliyah, If Your Girl Only Knew, the other day, and I was like, damn, that shit is sick. Like his production style during his prime is the most unorthodox, dopest shit ever, man. So yeah, I go with that, and also Q-Tip.
Yeah, Tip is hard as hell, man. People forget about Timbo, and it's crazy. We're doing a hip hop show, and we keep talking about his R&B stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's a testament to how ill his drum production is. That it was like, again, I was stuck, man. And as a producer, it's not too many times you get stuck. Like Vague said, like I can kind of understand how they did that, but with Timbo, it's like, yo, how the fuck? Like, I don't even know where to begin. Like,
he gave Aaliyah some shit, boy. Like, he gave Aaliyah some, like, we need a resolution. That beat, I'm like, yo, man.
You know what? Let's take a second to give Timbaland some props the same way we did with Habit. Most times in life, you're not able to leave your original producer and then get better. Most times that happens, you always fail. Like, like Janet leaving Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis for Jermaine Dupri. Well, we all knew that shit was gonna fail. Like, CL tried to get with another producer after Pete Rock. Like, it just never works. I've always wondered, like, A. Marie leaving Rich Harrison. Like, yo, A. Marie and Rich, y'all were magic. Just Rich's drum programming with the, all that. Like, anytime I see, I don't care nothing about any more A. Marie shit if Rich is not behind it. Like, and I'm always like, why do y'all leave? But Aaliyah is the first, because Candyman had Aaliyah popping. Age Ain't Nothing But a Number is one of my favorite albums. You know what I mean? So to leave Candyman, who at the time was the biggest R&B producer ever, to go with these 2 upstarts, Missy Elliott and Timbaland, who nobody ever heard of, like, that's just flat out incredible that two nobodies were able to write and produce such incredible songs for Aaliyah like that. Like, and I don't think a lot of people may not know or realize, like, this was like Tim and Missy's like type first placements.
Yeah, it was.
And to knock it out of the park like that, not only knock it out the park, but like Vague said, invent a whole new style of music. That's unheard of. For this to be your first shot, like this is your first time being in a real studio. And I mean, I know Timbaland came up under Devontae in the Basement Crew and all of that. So I'm not saying this is the first time in the studio, but this is the first time, like, nah, nigga, this is your session. Like, this ain't Devontae's. Or, no, this is your shit. And you come out with that 1 in a Million album. Again, that's up there with Havoc. Like, that's mind blowing to me. Like, that's, and you take Aaliyah to another level that the dopest R&B producer at the time didn't even have her at. Like, bro, like that's incredible. So definitely got to give love to Timbaland for that. Gadget, what you got? You've interviewed everybody from Diamond to Premier and Pete and everybody in between. Who do you have?
I have to go with Primo as far as hardest drums. Like, what's the joint he did with Nas with the birds in the background?
Nas is like,
Nas is, oh my god. Like Premier to me has some of the hardest drums still in the industry. And for drum programming, I have Bink.
ooh, I ain't mad at that either. Bink, if I'm not mistaken, was one of the first, if not the first, to incorporate live drumming with his drum program. So Bink going like kind of like what you would hear on like Jay-Z's "Show Me What You Got," like at the end where you just hear like a drummer just going crazy over the program drums. If I'm not mistaken, Bink was one of the first people to start doing that. That had been picked up by Just Blaze, the Justice League, and so many other producers like that. So definitely gotta give Bink love for that.
Bink on the rate.
Yeah, definitely, most def. Like I think it's because whenever people talk to Blueprint, they always just talk Just Blaze and Kanye West. And like for some reason, like his name never gets brought up. But I'm like, yo, this nigga set the album off and ended the album and had bangers throughout. Like, you know what I mean? So I didn't get that. But producers at home, one of the dopest things, and I'm hearing everybody with the hardest drums. Here's the thing about what everybody had. They had an engineer that knew their sound. So Primo had Eddie Sancho at D&D. In my opinion, Primo's drums have not knocked as hard since Eddie Sancho stopped engineering for him. You know what I mean? Pete had Jamie Staub at Green Street Studios. Veg, you said Timbaland. Timbaland had his engineer Jimmy D. Vern, you said Q-Tip. You had Bob Powers. You know what I mean? So it's just a testament to how a producer and their engineer, all the great producers who we talk about in the 90s had an engineer. I think, Vern, you said Just Blaze. He had Young Google. Like, it literally was like Steph Curry and a shooting coach. Like, to me, that's we think Steph just coming in the league just shooting 50-foot threes. Like, nah, that nigga's shooting like 100,000 threes a day with his shooting coach. Like, to me, that's a producer and the engineer like go hand in hand like that. And the problem is now we don't have labels to pay for engineers. So now everybody is forced to kind of engineer their own shit, which is a reason why I think we don't have hip hop sound in the way that it used to sound. But just wanted to put that in there too, because your engineer is so fucking important, especially in the 90s to get this out. Primo will tell you it was Eddie Sancho who got him on the MPC 60. Like, if you talk to a lot of these producers, they will give their engineers so much love for it. And Dre is just one of the few producers who can just do both effortlessly. Yeah. Like, Dre is an amazing engineer and amazing producer. What are you gonna say, Gavin?
I have a theory on why, like, in the 90s, like, drums were heavy and prevalent. I think, and this is just my opinion, I think these white engineers were so used to doing rock that when hip hop came around, you know, automatically they wanted to hear the drums.
Right.
So I think they just turned the drums up in some of the songs, maybe, you know, unconsciously.
Right. Nah, that's
like Bob Powers ain't never did no hip hop before Q-Tip, you know.
Right. Nah. That's a dope point. And I think the point that's even doper with a dope engineer like Bob Powers is that may be your first instinct, but you have to understand that rock and hip hop were two different things. And I think Bob Powers was one of those first engineers to kind of understand that, because you'll hear a lot of cats talk about, yo, we ain't like our engineer. He was just some white boy who ain't know shit about hip hop, you know, or whatever like that. You know what I mean? So I think you're 100% right that a lot of those engineers wanted to do that, and it was dope if they were able to kind of be like, okay, let's do this. I know with the Beat Miners, they were saying, yo, the whole first Into the Stage was engineered horribly because we just turned that shit up in the red. We just wanted that shit as loud as we could get it, you know, so we just turned everything up. And they were saying they didn't really get it till the Shining album, everything like that. But nah, that's a great point. I agree with you 100% on that. Eddie, what about you? Dopest drum programmer and hardest drums?
I mean, for hardest drums, you know, I'm gonna give Dilla some love, man, because I feel like Dilla had so many different styles, man. But when you listen to the Rough Draft album, when you listen to that the album he did with Madlib, that joint, even he produced some of the joints on his brother Ono, his first album. He produced his joint called Move that went super hard. I mean, Dilla has some hard drums, like when he wanted to go into that bag, you know what I mean? as far as programming, I'm gonna agree with Vegas. I'm gonna go with Timberland on that, on the programming too.
Yeah, can't go wrong with that. Rel, who you got, man?
I don't know if I'm putting these people in the right category, but for programming, I would say like I like Pharrell. And for hardest drums, I guess I'll go with Just Blaze for the hardest drums. But for programming, I go with Pharrell. Like I like he goes and like almost kind of like how Timberland does. Like he just sometimes you just like where did that even come from? You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
so I feel like he one of the people that did his own thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
No doubt. For me, hardest drums, I got Pete. It's just like, I forgot who said it. I think we all said main ingredient is just a smorgasbord of just drums. Same thing with Mech and the Soul Brother. Like, I mean, like, just the drums. Pete's drums are crazy. And programming, I'm gonna give it to Dilla. I just feel like the way he would, and you could just listen to Fantastic Volume 2. Like, to me, that's just like some of them joints on there. Like the drum programming is just like flawless. Like some days I don't know if it's a break beat. I don't know if he's playing the drums live. I don't know if he's programming them. So it just flows effortlessly to me. Tell me this, y'all. Drums in hip hop is a lost cause. It's like, I feel like drums need to be on the side of a milk carton somewhere. Like, where are the drums? You know what I mean? Like, they're gone. Nobody uses them. And it's crazy to me because I always tell people back in 2011, if me and Vegas was doing an EP, if we were doing an album, I'd be like, all right, we could do an EP with 5 songs to give away for free, then we could charge for the album. But I said, if we give them the EP away for free, I'm not taking the time to be programming no drums. I'm gonna just loop up some shit and you just gonna rhyme over them. MCs were like, fuck no, kill, where are the drums? Hip hop is about the drums. MCs were reading me the rights on everything that I'm doing is wrong. Those same MCs now, 8 years later, are telling me, Kill, can you take the drums out? Can we get rid of the drums? Because, of course, Rock Marcy, Griselda, Derringer has, and once, Griselda blew up, you know what I mean? Now everybody is like, I don't want no drums. And I'm always like, do you MCs know what the fuck you want in the first place? Like, do y'all have an idea of what you want? Because another great example, I had this beat called Dice Game. It was on my Through the Wire mixtape. And I would always send that to MCs like, yo, just go through this and see if you hear anything. Nobody ever picked that beat. Matthew Ray Guzano does it, blows up, Primo's playing it, PF Cut is playing it, niggas are playing it, everybody loves it. Now niggas are like, yo, Kill, can you give me a dice game? And I'm like, nigga, like, you could have had the dice game. It was been sitting on this goddamn beat tape for the past 2 years. So, it's what do y'all feel about the drumless hip hop? Because I tell people on Twitter all the time, there's nothing wrong with it. Drumless hip hop has been going on since the beginning of hip hop. Like, let's stop this that Rock Marciano invented it. A great example. Soliloquy of Chaos on Daily Operation from 1990, no drums. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of times, niggas would just loop it, but you hear the drums in it, so you think there are drums in it, and there are really no drums added to it. So that's what I mean. Like, there are usually drums in a sample, and then the producer will add drums over on top of that. RZA is infamous for not using any drums. Like, if anybody was like the OG of just looping, to me it's RZA, not Rock Mars. You know what I mean? But how do y'all feel about drumless hip hop? Vern?
Yeah, okay. I prefer my cake with yeast in it.
Pull your mic down, Vern.
I prefer my cake with yeast in it. That's not to say that there aren't dope songs with drumless, but I mean, that's cool. That was cute. All right, now let's get back to the drums. You know what I mean? Don't you making the whole genre, and I think you're doing it to like prove a point or something. So now, if I have to, my druthers don't have the choice. Give me the drums, bro.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that to prove a point. I think they're doing it because it's easy. Like, Rock Marcy said it. He was like, yo, I go to these producers, these A-list producers, and I asked for beats, and he said the stuff they was playing me, I knew this wasn't the shit they was giving to Jay-Z. I knew these ain't the beats you playing for Nas. So it was like, okay, so fuck y'all. I'ma just produce myself. And what's easier than just looping something up? You know what I mean? And here's the thing. No disrespect to that, because you still have to have an ear. You still have to have an ear to be able to hear something that is dope enough to loop. And let me say this straight. I love Rock Marcy. He's one of my favorite looping producers. While everybody else loves Derringer, who's very dope too, I prefer Rock Marcy. Like, if I see produced by Rock Marcy after that Stove God album, I'm actually a little excited, even though I know I'm not probably gonna get no drums. You know what I mean? So I don't want to make it sound like, oh, that's just easy, anybody can do it. But it does take much more time to, I find a sample, then I'm like, okay, boom, okay, what kind of kick and snare kind of fits this sample? And then I got to find that kick and snare, and then I got to, okay, well, how do I program the drums to fit with the sample? So it's basically, in my opinion, you're just taking a lot of steps out of the process of, if I use Burns' equation of baking a cake, if there are 8 steps to bake this cake, you're like cutting out 7 of them. You know what I mean? And you're literally just using 1 step to bake this cake, which could be fine. I don't mind it. But when you got 14 songs of no drums, it's kind of just like, I need something to knock in our system. Vague, what about you, bro? What do you think about drumless hip hop? Is it here to stay? Is it leaving? Are you fine with it? How do you feel about it?
I think there's some fatigue with it, at least on my side, because like, I don't mind it. In the beginning, I didn't like it at all, to be honest, because I don't know, maybe because I wasn't used to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that much of it, basically. When you have like Griselda putting out project after project, and they all, all the tracks didn't have no drums. But now I feel like, especially having heard Conway and Benny over tracks that have drums, the only person I really want to hear over that shit or drumless tracks is maybe Stove God, West Side Gun, maybe, and maybe Ransom, because I kind of feel like that sound fits them well. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it complements what they do well. So I don't want to hear Jay-Z got a new album and he ain't got no drums in the track, because then I'm just gonna be upset with the other beat, the another beat, and whatever other beat is what they gonna say. But you know what I'm saying? Like, to me, I think it's like anything, right? Like, when niggas stopped sampling, right? And it was like, don't sample, and then sped up samples came back, and it was like, all right, everybody do that. I think it's just one of those things where it's kind of like somebody did something that's dope with it. Everybody's kind of doing some dope shit, and it's going to get oversaturated, and then something to become the new wave. So I don't mind it as much, but I only prefer it with certain artists. So
it's crazy you say that, because I'll never forget the first time I heard Rejects 2. Like, by the 3rd song, I'm like, God damn, Rock Marcy gonna have beef with these niggas, because these niggas took his whole style, and then by the time you get to the 3rd song, which is Rex Ryan, Rock Marcy is on it. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, at least they down. But I truly believe in my heart of hearts, Rock Marcy feels some kind of way. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we cool and all, and we could collab, but nigga, y'all know y'all took my shit, right? Like, y'all know y'all ran to the bank with it, because Rock Marcy to me was the first person who just did it all the time. Even though RZA did it, Eddie just pulled out, Incarcerated Scarfaces. We could pull out the drums in Ice Cream. We could pull out the drums in Rainy Days. We could pull out, like you said, the drums on Jizza. So even though RZA did it, it wasn't like a all the time thing. And then, like you said, Beg, I think another great point you had was when you look at it from the standpoint of once you've heard Conway and Benny over the drums, like you can't go back. Like, it's almost like this may be a little. Should I say? It's almost like you mess with a girl and you didn't get head, and then you got head. Like, you're not going back to no more not head. Like, like, we can't go back. Like, we're here now, so we can't go back. Like, we can't go back. Don't, okay, well then I can't mess with you because I'm here now. So I feel you 100% with, like, now I don't want to hear Conway and Benny over Derringer beats. And it's kind of crazy because I don't know if I haven't heard a Derringer beat in a while, y'all. Like, he's kind of disappeared because, nobody's really, Conway got new producers and West is produced. I haven't heard a Derringer beat in a minute.
Yeah. Look, I think maybe it's not the style that's played out for maybe Derringer, like in the way Swiss was, right? Like when Swiss had that Casio sound and everybody's, oh, let me get one of those. And then it was like, oh, those are the beats that's in the Casio. Nobody wanted that shit. And it was like Swiss left with that sound for a minute.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like the sound is still around, but Derringer is a casualty of maybe people getting sick of that shit.
And it's crazy because this joint, Alchemist Russian Roulette, this came out in 2013. It's all loops. It was like his thing was gonna be, it's all loops from Russian music that he found. And it's kind of like, this is why I'm like, niggas have been doing this before Rock Marcy. Like, niggas have been doing this before Griselda. Like, you know, so, Tone, what you think about it, man?
Look, man, I like peanut butter sandwiches, and I love peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. You know what I'm saying? So, don't get me wrong, there's a time and place for drumless joints, but if I hear an album and it got 12 tracks on it, maybe if one of them is like that, I guess it's okay, but I wouldn't want that to be consistent throughout a project, because I remember the reason why I started hating it, because when Nas dropped Life is Good, the world is an addiction. I was like, damn, what a fucking drums that. So that was going to be one of my favorite songs on Life is Good, and there was no drums on it, and that song needed the drums for me, man. So, nah, man. I prefer the drums, but being a producer will make a nice track without it. But it's not my first preference, man. I like a little jelly on my peanut butter, man.
Nah, I feel you. Yeah, what about you, man?
I prefer drums, but for me it depends on the sample. Yep. Like if the sample is just that tight and they don't need drums, then I'm fine with it. I put this question out on Twitter, like, how do these drumless beats hit in a concert venue, not a club? Like if Griselda was gonna do a verses at Madison Square Garden, would those songs hit? Those drumless songs hit in Madison Square Garden as opposed to what was the club Cameron kept saying?
A 930 club or Howard Theater.
That's SOBs.
Yeah, that's
SOBs. Like how would those ring off in the stadium?
That's a good question, man. And it's funny because again, I'm go back to Vegas. Like after hearing Benny with Hit Boy, I'm good with that. Like I want to hear some drums. I want to hear that knock. Like that's what we wanted. That's why niggas had systems and they Acuras and then they Nissans and then they Hondas and Maximas. Was you had subwoofers, not you wanted the drums. Like Primo would talk about, we leave D&D, get in my MPV, go out to Brooklyn and play that shit in the car. Like, and that was our car test. Our car test has now become the strip club test in hip hop. It's like leave the studio to the strip club and see how it works. And now I don't even know where we go with drumless hip hop. You can almost listen to it with your AirPods in because there's no bass. So it's almost just like, where do we go with that? You know what I mean? So that's a great question too. Like, how do you perform this, in a big venue?
And what does the crowd do? Just like how do you move?
They sway like they're in Woodstock.
Yeah.
Just a vibe.
Is the vibe
like honestly, I haven't been outside in like 2 years. Like I haven't been to those shows, nothing. Like I've never been to like I went to a Benny show, but it was like empty. Like so that don't count. But like how do these niggas like move at the club to these songs?
They don't. It's just a bunch of fucking zombies standing in the crowd swinging.
No, they do like this. They hold up their phone, recording it.
Right. They're too busy filming. That's what.
And the thing is, guys, I'll say this, and it depends because I've been since doing the ticket giveaways with the Howard. I've been to 1 million shows. They're not gonna do those St. Regis songs. Like St. Regis is my favorite Conway song. It's just a loop, but it's very slow. He's gonna do shit like Goat, which is on that Alchemist did. You know what I mean? Which is up tempo. Benny's gonna do Rubber Bands and Wait. You know what I mean? Like, You know what I mean? So I think they at least kind of know. Like you said, we do know something to bang. Because Tana Talk 3, my props for Derringer was I think there's only like 2 songs on there with no drums. Like the joint with Royce, and then I think the last song on the album, and everything else on Tana Talk 3 has drums. You know what I mean? So like I at least felt like, okay, this is good. Like we're going somewhere with this. And then the whole joint, that whole What Would Machine Gun Do album, I think everything on that has drums. You know what I mean? So again, I think Derringer may have just gotten typecasted like that. But I think the other hard part with Derringer, unless he just signed to Griselda, I'm just shocked that nobody else, like ETO or Flea Lord and all these other 50 billion MCs from upstate New York now, like I still haven't seen a produced by Derringer tag used by nobody, not just Griselda, but just anybody from that point. Eddie, what about you? Drumless hip hop, good or bad?
You know, I prefer drums. I feel like if you're gonna have a drumless track, like it should be sparingly. You know, I can't do a whole album of drumless, but like for example, Nas had Queens Get the Money. Like that was a dope intro, drumless, right? You know, if you have certain tracks that have a certain feeling, that's, you know, gotta be a dope loop, you know what I mean? And if it calls for it, cool. But, you know, and I feel like in that case, those drumless tracks will stand out more to me. But when you got a whole album, and then, you know, let me be honest, like a lot of these albums that are doing drumless, a lot of those samples I ain't even feeling, you know, on top of it being drumless. You know what I mean? Like all these, you know, I feel like there's an overabundance now of like these rock samples. I don't know where that came from. You get a lot of guitars, a lot of all this stuff. I don't know where that started, where that came from, but this drumless rock samples, I'm not here for. Sorry, man.
I think Just brought a lot of rock samples to life. You know, I think a lot of that rock Just was like with Breathe, and you know, Just was really tapping into the market like that.
But
Bro,
they
what you
have
think,
hard
bro?
drums with them though.
Yeah, no,
Right.
I agree. I agree. I agree. Like I was just saying where the rock samples came in. These rock samples without drums. I think at the end of the day, here's the thing: everybody can't program. Like that's the problem. You know what I mean? It's almost like, you know, somebody who builds websites. Like everybody can't code. Like, you know what I mean? So again, it's easier if all I gotta do is find a dope loop. Nigga, I could do a whole album for you and give me a weekend and I can do that. But if you want me to find the loop, then find the drums, then program it, then, you know, put some little ad-libs floating around here and there, that's gonna take more time. It's like, do you want me to make you a quick dinner or you want me to make you Thanksgiving Day dinner? It's two totally different things. Like Thanksgiving shouldn't be the average just came home from work dinner. So, you know, again, it's just easier. And I think the Gadget's point, a great example of this is Echo, the Nas joint that was on the Swiss album. Because niggas was like, yo, why you ain't add the drums? Scratch got on IG and was like, yo, here's the track with the drums. And it was like, okay, cool. I'm glad you got rid of the drums. Like the sample didn't need it. Like it literally took away from it. You know what I mean? It's like me and T used to always be like, yo, fuck Beyonce, man. Let Kelly and Michelle sing sometimes. You're always Brody and everything. Then Kelly and Michelle started singing. We was like, oh, we apologize. Bring Beyonce back. Like, we're sorry about that. Like, bring OB on back. So I think so. That's a great point for that. And then, like you said, Ed, with the sample, it gets boring unless you're just an incredible MC. I love Stove God. I think Stove God, his energy, his analogies, all this stuff, you know, he does. I'm not even paying attention to the fact that there aren't any drums because I'm just brought in. I'm just listening to Stove God. Like I literally just listen to him. Bro, what do you think, bro?
I prefer drums, but I say, you know what I'm saying, the drumless hip hop is cool, like in moderation. You know what I'm saying? It get crazy when like, you know, something gets popular and then everybody's doing it. That's kind of make it corny. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, you know, everything has its place, its time and its place. But I think it's okay in moderation. You know what I'm saying? And if the MC can capture your attention to where like you just was explaining, where you're not even really thinking about it, then it works. You know what I'm saying? When it doesn't work is when it's just boring. You know what I mean? So I just feel like in moderation it's alright.
Have y'all? Is Vague? I know you're big into battle rap. Is the nigga Math Hoffa? Is that a name?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. He has. Have y'all seen this dude's show on YouTube? He's like in the barbershop.
Yeah.
It's a good show.
Yeah, it's actually a dope show to check out. And he has Ransom in there. And Ransom was saying how it's so funny that, you know, hip hop goes through these changes where shit just becomes cool. Like the Don't Curse video. I remember seeing that and all of us being like, yo, why has Kane got a silk shirt on and a bottle of champagne in his hand? Like, the fuck is wrong with this nigga? You know? But then you fast forward 5 years and Jay-Z has a silk shirt on and a bottle of champagne in his hand. And it just didn't work at that time. And Ransom was talking about, he was like, yo, me and Joe Buttons, we'd all be with Clue back in the day, and we be barring people for 96 verses. And Clue was like, don't nobody want to hear that shit. Where's the chorus? Where's this? Don't nobody want to hear about your life and all that shit. Like, cut that out. And he's like, but now because of Griselda, now you can rhyme for 96 bars. Now you don't need a chorus, you know? So it's just funny how hip hop is just, I mean, I guess not just hip hop, it's life in general. You know what I mean? Niggas is wearing tighter stuff now than we would have worn in the 90s. You know what I mean? And it's just fads come and they go and they come and they go. And I guess just like you said, the fad for right now is drumless hip hop, barring people to death. Because Ransom was like, yo, if I put this same shit out I'm putting out right now, 8 years ago, would nobody be talking about it? You know, but now,
you know when like, since you talk about Ransom like that, the Director's Cut 3 that everyone was going crazy for, at first I wasn't feeling it because it was drumless, right? I had to go back.
Same.
I think the first two Director's Cuts had drum. Well, the first one had drums. The second one was kind of like half and half. And then the third one was like completely drumless. So I went back and appreciated those. And then when I went back to the third, I was able to appreciate it more. But, you know what I mean? He has other stuff with drums. Like, his catalog is dope, you know, leading up to it.
Are you guys feeling the Boldy James album with Alchemist?
I've heard of it.
It's called Bo Jackson.
I'm not a fan of Boldy James. I think he's a boring MC to me. You know, let me keep it real.
I was like, Vague, I see the look on your face. What's that?
That nigga's trash, man. That nigga's boring as hell. Like, every time I see these timelines, like, and I try not to shit on, you know, what people like, because for me, sometimes I'm more like, I like what I like, but I'm intrigued by people liking something I don't like. So I always try to figure out, like, well, what is it about them they like? But that nigga's boring, man. Like, I was listening to that joint the other day in the gym, and I was like, these
gym.
Yeah, I'm about to say, you about to die.
Right.
You're gonna be on the treadmill.
Right. I'm like, oh,
You're gonna be walking at the treadmill.
Right. But nah, I was telling somebody, I was like, you know, it for Alchemist to be working with him like this, I just feel like this dude is just, you know, it's no disrespect to him saying this, but I just feel like this would have been Prodigy's project with Alchemist, because that vibe of beats is kind of what they were doing with like Albert Einstein and stuff like that, and even Boldy James kind of comes across like later Prodigy, you know what I'm saying? Later Prodigy was kind of subdued with how he flowed, but this dude is like, sometimes I'll be looking for the bars like, okay, that was hot, but goddamn, this nigga cares. This nigga's mad boring. Like, shit boring.
Yo, don't play him in the car when you're tired, man.
Right,
No Boldy James on a road trip.
He's the Michael Franks of hip hop.
Yo, I think the crazy thing about Boldy, bro, is I think right now with social media, we're living in a world full of who you're connected to. Like, I think if Alchemist isn't connected with Boldy James, if Boldy James just popped up tomorrow, produced by me, I don't think nobody would feel this nigga. You know what I mean? And not no knock on what I give the nigga, because that shit would be dope. But I think it's just like, oh, he's down with Alchemist. Oh, it's a win. And then on top of that, if I'm not mistaken, he's on Griselda now. So then it's also like, oh, he's on Griselda, because he had an album that came out on Griselda last year that was trash. Like, I forgot who produced it, but one of them West Side people produced it, and it was trash. You know what I mean? So I think now more than ever, we're living in this, who are you associated with? You know what I mean? Like, I always tell Vegas, we got a joint called Song For You. I swear to you, if it said produced by Pete and CL, niggas would have been jumping out the fucking window for that shit. You know what I mean? So I just feel like we're living in a time that as long as it's, and what now that Boldy is almost like, he's almost like the mob. Like, he's a made man now. You're with Griselda, you're with Alchemist, you're a made man. Boldy has stands. I'm like, it never shocks me on every day I find out on Twitter more and more people have stands. And I'm like, And the funny thing is, it's almost known across the board. I done seen memes with this nigga Bodie NyQuil, you know, Bo Jackson, which is like, I mean, there's so many memes about how boring he is, you know, but you still got people talking about, like, nah, like he's this and he's that. And I truly believe it's just because, you know, he's associated with Alchemist. Truth be told, I haven't felt Alchemist beats in probably the last 2 or 3 years. You know, but if you say that on the timeline, it's like, you crazy. But I'm like, Alchemist used to be one of the producers who would fuck up my head. Like when I heard Rubber Bands and Weight, I was like, yo, this is stupid. But then I'm here like, you couldn't have told me that that joint Lulu with Conway wasn't gonna be album of the year for me. And I like the Big Ghost with Conway album better than that Lulu shit. So here's the hard part. I don't know who to blame, because if he's sending the beats and that's the shit people pick, that's the shit people pick. You know, so I don't.
I mean, there are many alternatives to Boldy James. Like, I'm still fucking with the Evidence album. Like, Evidence put out a great album like a couple weeks ago. Amazing.
I mean, bro, this shit right here. I've always loved Ev, but I feel like Ev is just an underrated MC. I feel like you either love Ev or you're not. Because here's the funny thing. I know a lot of people say the same thing about Ev. He's boring. He's monotone. He stays there. He's boring. You know, so it's funny because I know people who talk about Evidence the same way we're talking about Boldy James. Like, he's boring. And I get it. I get it. If somebody says, yo, Evidence is too monotone for me, he's too boring, totally get it. Totally get it. Totally understand.
Yeah, Boldy James is like hip hop chopped and screwed, like boom bap chopped and screwed. You know what I mean? Like he rhymes super slow.
Right. Yeah. Right. Like there's a big difference because there are a lot of cats that are monotone, like Evidence. So it's like, you know, pick your poison. But for Boldy James, I don't know if that's forced or not. But yeah, it's really a niche type thing. Like you really got to be into that. And if that's his goal, right? Like, yo, I purposely rhyme like that. Then that's cool. But I know for me, it'd be better if he was actually saying something interesting the majority of the time. Then I wouldn't mind as much because it's like, oh, that's the style, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, that shit, shit's boring, man.
I feel you. Vern, give them everything good, brother. Where can they get at you? They need a house in Atlanta. Where you at? You at Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina?
Georgia, Alabama, about to be South Kakalaka, North Kakalaka in a minute. At V the Loan Closer on Instagram.
All right, no doubt. Vay, tell them everything good, brother.
You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all of that, at Vegas World INC. And check out my weekly podcast, Hip Hop Now Podcast. Not only available in your favorite podcasting app, but also available on YouTube.
All right, no doubt. Talk about Willmatic for a minute too, good brother.
Yeah, man. So me and Kill did a project dedicated to my cousin Ill Will, as you may know from Nas and Illmatic. The project is dedicated to his memory. Basically, we explain it like, you know, whereas Illmatic was dedicated to a friend, you know what I'm saying, this is more so dedicated to a family member. And I talk a little bit more deeply about my relationship with him, his relationship to his family, who he was in the street as a hip-hop fan, as a person. Also, my relationship with Nas. You know what I'm saying? Back then, the early days, in my college days, all of that. It's an EP, you know what I'm saying? It's available everywhere. If you go to Bandcamp, it's also free there, but if you would like to purchase it, you can. There's also merchandise, but all the proceeds to the Bandcamp, iTunes, or the t-shirts all go to Ill Will's mom's. No, she don't necessarily need it, but I felt like it'd be dope to just give her the money, you know, whatever money is made. And a lot of people supported, and I want to thank y'all, you know what I'm saying? She was happy with her little bit of money, you know, go get something to eat, whatever, you know, do whatever with that shit. But it's a dope project that, you know, Kill hooked up with the beats, and I think it came together pretty well. And I think if you if you were ever interested in knowing at least a little bit more about who Ill Will was from Queensbridge, it'd be a dope project to check out and hear from my perspective, family member. So.
Hey, quick question: How did you guys feel with the Charlie Clips Ill Will line in that battle against JC?
I don't remember what's the line.
You never heard the line? Because there's a battle rapper named Ill Will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Charlie Clips was battling Ill Will, and he said, I think the line is, I'll put you up in the sky with Nas Man, Ill Will. I was like, damn.
Well, as a person that watches battle rap, I get it, right? Like, I don't think Charlie Clips meant any malice towards my cousin.
No.
Now, there are some people, right, who grew up with him who do not like that shit, and they will, it's better that I hear it than they hear it, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I don't take offense to that because I watch battle rap and they say all kinds of shit all the time. Like about people that's alive, people, moms, all kinds of crazy shit. So it's meant to be harsh in a lot of ways, but I don't know. Now, if I see Charlie Clips in person, I don't know. I might feel some kind of way. I might be like, yo, what's that shit you said?
And again, like Veg was saying, I think Ill Will is one of those people who you've heard about. I mean, Nas album just came out and he's still saying R.I.P. Ill Will. So he's one of those people who, if you've listened to Nas, you know Ill Will, but you don't know who Ill Will is. So I do think it's a dope project, it's a dope check. Definitely check out. I tell you the funniest thing. What? Huh?
Well, go ahead. I was
gonna say the funniest thing is I just got finished going on this whole drumless hip hop and how whack it is tangent, and then like the next day, Beg released the first single, which is drumless hip hop, and niggas was like, "Yo, what the fuck, nigga? You just got finished here,
you hypocrite."
And then this come out, the first single ain't got no drums. I said the whole album. There are drums on this album. Don't worry about it. But yes, it was just funny to me because the first two singles don't have drums, so.
No drums.
I was just saying that you take it in the press, but it was just hilarious to me. So let them know where they can get at you, bro.
Yeah, Twitter at Tony Haynes for Dome, the same for IG and everything, and has the links to Dome and everything like that. He's really cool about that real magic, man. Like, everybody knows Nas my favorite MC, so it was cool to hear they really talk about Ill Will as a family. This is family. It was different than Nas, his homie. He told the story about him, what happened, whatever. But to hear about his relationship with his cousins, and his mother, and just down the way in Queens, and Vegas is talking throughout as well, talking about his cousins, it bring you closer to the actual wife of Ill Will, man. I enjoyed the joint, man. So you guys did a great job, man. That's it for me, man. Good talking to you, man.
Thank you, man. And Veg, I appreciate him for letting me produce it. The blessing was so many people have said it's one of their favorite albums, EPs of 2012. I mean, 2021. I'm dyslexic. I done said 2012. So that's mind blowing to me. Gadget, give them all the information, good brother.
Digital Hustler across all platforms. Scratch Mag TV. On Instagram, my YouTube is the Digital Hustle Films. You'll see a lot of beat making videos and interviews up there. And follow Copious Amounts. That's the cooking show that me and Camber work on.
Which is bananas, by the way. So talk a little bit about that cooking show and what it is.
So during the pandemic, we actually started the cooking show during the pandemic. And Camber has been talking to me for years about doing a cooking show, and I was like, yo, we both have a lot of time on our hands. Why don't we just film one episode, see how it goes? People loved it. We ended up, bringing guests on. We had D. Angeletti, we had Ma Barker, we've had a lot of DC legends, W. Ellington Felton, Killer Cow from Rare Essence. So it's picking up. We this last week was our 1 year anniversary. So I'm very proud of what we created.
It's a very dope show, man. It's blended in hip hop and food. You know what I mean? And he's a chef, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So he's literally cooking the food while they're chopping up about hip hop and just very dope show. Very dope show, good brother. Eddie, give him all the info, good brother.
All right, I'm on Twitter at EddieD80, Instagram, Freestyles, and freestyles.com. And yo, man, definitely that Willmatic EP, very dope, man. Vegas is such a dope storyteller, and I think that's something that gets missed or gets slept on. The way he told them stories in that way, it being so personal, but really dope. So I love it. So I definitely agree with it being one of the best EPs of the year.
All right, no doubt. Rel, talk to them about this clothing line, bro. That's what I want to hear about.
All right, Uptown J-Ben on the gram, J-Ben215 on Twitter. The clothing line is fair grade with the help of Kill. Based off the last show, we came up with a nice idea, and basically it's
No, don't tell them what it is, because somebody will bite this shit.
You're right.
Until it's done, don't say a goddamn word. Until you're rocking the t-shirts.
By the next show, it'll be you'll see what we on, what type of time we on, and it's something special. So,
yep.
All right, me and Rob been talking all throughout the week. I'm like, yo, I know everybody out there seen them Guidance dope t-shirts. Mm-hmm. What Brell is cooking up, I think it could literally be right up there with that. Like, I think if this pulls off right, this would be, like this could be. So definitely, stay tuned for that. You already know what it is with me, Kill889, Twitter, IG, willmakebeatfood.com. Download Willmatic, listen to it prayerfully. You like it, support. Again, I'm always amazed because I hear Nas say, never curse in front of Miss Versi in Second Childhood, and Miss Versi is Vegas' aunt. So like that shit is just mind blowing to me. So all proceeds go to her. I always say we gotta support this culture we say we love so much. So let's do that. I'll check y'all next week, y'all.